Second part. Chapter 21. During the journey. Boom! A pirate ship was trying to rob a merchant ship when a violent explosion suddenly occurred at the bottom of the ship. The horrific explosion blew the pirate ship to pieces. The merchant ships that escaped the disaster quickly filled their sails and left. The Nautilus, hidden at the bottom of the sea, had no idea of surfacing, and sailed directly into the distance silently, leaving no credit or fame. 5 hours later. Sugar Cane Town on Rum Island. Noah and his team made a disguise, pretending to be members of a trading company, and landed in Sugar Cane Town. The main reason why they came ashore was that they had not communicated with other people in the past few months and needed to relax. Sailing can sometimes be very boring, and psychological counseling must be provided regularly, otherwise mental illness is likely to occur. Inside a restaurant. Several waiters served the dishes quickly, but there were not many dishes on the table. Uncle Joseph held a bottle of locally produced rum and tasted it carefully. Vic was performing a three-mouthed pig performance, while Lillian was thinking about how to recreate the restaurant's food. Noah leaned on the chair and silently observed the pedestrians on the street outside the window. This is a small island country that relies on the rum and cane sugar industries for survival. Especially with the advent of the Great Pirate Era, rum has become an essential consumable for sea navigation, making the place more and more prosperous. However, Noah found that many pedestrians passing by did not show wealth. Many people are skinny, with disheveled faces, and their clothes are full of patches. Noah stopped a waiter. A silver coin was placed on the waiter's hand, and the middle-aged waitress suddenly smiled. "Sir, how can I help you?" "I am a businessman from Goa Kingdom. I am new here and I am not very familiar with Rum Island. Can you introduce it to me?" The waiter looked around and whispered, "Kaido, sir, doing business on our Rum Island requires the approval of Minister Powell. I heard that you have to pay a large sum of money to purchase rum and cane sugar here." Noah thought thoughtfully and continued to ask, "Are all those people outside locals?" The waiter glanced at the pedestrians pointed by Noah and whispered again, "Those people are all sinners. Because they broke the law and had no money to pay the atonement, they could only rely on the work arranged by the kingdom to atone. It seems that the laws in your country are very strict." "Sir, please don't say this on the street. If the disciplinary knight hears it, you will be fined. Do you have any legal books on the Kingdom of Rum in your store?" Noah finished speaking and handed over another silver coin. The waiter nodded. "The boss has a copy. I can borrow it for you, but it cannot be taken away or damaged." "No problem." After a while, the waiter secretly handed him a thick book. At this moment, Anthony and Vic, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, pushed open the door and entered. Taking a sip of coffee, Anthony said in a low voice, "Boss, this is a local business investigation report." Noah took the booklet and read it 10 lines at a time. After reading it, he understood the situation of the Rum Kingdom. The numerous taxes and harsh punishments were simply trying to squeeze every last copper out of all the civilians. According to his understanding, the more than 170 participating countries of world government are divided into 3 levels, and the heavenly gold they need to pay every year is also divided into 3 levels. The first level is 50 billion belly per year. The second level is 30 billion belly per year. The third level is 10 billion belly per year. A small country like the Kingdom of Rum is usually a third-level franchise country and only needs to pay 10 billion belly or the equivalent of treasures and secret treasures every year. The entire Kingdom of Rum has a population of 200,000, and each person needs to pay 50,000 belly per year. This amount is actually not too high. You must know that the Dragon Pirates are in Coco West Village, but the monthly life fee required is 100,000 belly for adults and 50,000 belly for children. The prosperity of Rum Kingdom is not comparable to that of Coco West Village. Judging from the investigation, the annual income of the entire Kingdom of Rum is no less than 100 billion belly, which is almost 10 times the gold in the sky. Why is it so exhausted? Noah was lost in thought. Puzzled, he pulled out the tarot cards. Soon the tarot cards gave divination predictions. The balance of falsehood, the sin of greed. Noah's vision directly affects the pedestrians on the street. Although these people are working, their expressions are very numb and painful. He called Mary over and gave some instructions in her ear. Mary went to the fruit shop opposite and bought some fruit as if nothing had happened. After returning to the restaurant, she looked a little unhappy. "Boss, those people are in great pain inside. If they don't work, their whole family may starve to death. Are they all the same? Those so-called redeemers are all the same." Noah seems to have guessed something based on the prophecy of tarot card divination. After eating and drinking, everyone checked into a high-end hotel nearby. As night falls, 3 black shadows left Cane Sugar Town silently. There are 4 towns in the entire Rum Island, namely Cane Sugar Town in the south that is open to the outside world, Bamboo Cane Town on the small plain in the southeast, Mackerel Town on the northwest coast, and Rum City on the central plateau of the island. Rum City is the capital of the Rum Kingdom. Noah, Mary, and Lilith, who turned on the knowledge, avoided the patrolling soldiers inside the Rum Kingdom. In less than an hour, the 3 of them crossed more than 80 kilometers and arrived in the mountains and forests outside Rum City. "Brother, the density of redeemers here is higher than that of Sugarcane Town." Mary, who has emotional perception, is very uncomfortable. This is also the fundamental reason why the Red Earl does not trust others. This type of knowledge can really drive people crazy. Fortunately, Mary has the care of her family and high-intensity exercise, so she can control her intelligence freely. If it is the Red Earl's innately awakened sense of knowledge, due to the information pollution from childhood to adulthood, coupled with the unfortunate experiences in childhood, then the result will be only loneliness and a twisted mind that can see through people's hearts. Let's pay a visit to Secretary Powell's residence. Lilith directly changes the subtle structure of the surface and quickly disappears into the environment. Mary slid the light away from her body and also entered the invisible state. Noah, on the other hand, used his sense of sight to predict the surrounding things and walked into Powell's mansion in a swagger. The pot-bellied Powell is currently engaged in human reproduction. Suddenly, the 5 people in the room felt their eyelids become heavy. Before Powell could call, they collapsed like dead pigs. Noah, wearing a gas mask, pushed open the door, picked up the quilt, tied up Powell, and then took out the phone bug. "Alii, come pick me up." The gemstone badge on Noah's inner vest shimmered slightly. Immediately, a circular hole opened in the air in front of him, and Noah led Powell through the wormhole and arrived in a cave in an instant. Chapter 22 Lure the snake out of its hole. The cave is under a coastal cliff in the southern part of Rum Island. This is also where Noah and his team landed. The Agile brothers did not go to Cane Sugar Town during the day, but dug a temporary underground cave here. Alii, who possessed the cave fruit, easily dug an underground cave covering an area of several thousand square meters. After the wormhole opened, Noah and others passed through it one after another. Looking at the dead pig-like Powell, Ali was a little confused. "Brother, is this guy the mastermind behind the scenes? There's nothing special about it. If you have any questions, I'll let you know later." Lilith injected the antidote into Powell's body, and Noah casually gave him a cubic meter of seawater. Under the cool seawater, Powell shuddered, and then slowly woke up. The fat pig, who had not yet understood the situation, immediately cursed. "It's so cold. Where are they all dead? Why don't they?" Suddenly, Powell's throat seemed to be blocked by something, and then he panicked. "Who are you? Do you know who I am? Let me go quickly, or else." "What else?" As soon as she finished speaking, Lilith approached the other party with a smile, and then pricked Powell's arm with a syringe. You, what did you do to me?" After a while, Powell felt his arm begin to feel warm, then itchy, and then spread throughout his body. "Ah, it's so itchy." If he hadn't been tied up, Powell might have scratched his skin to pieces. At this moment, he wanted to tear his skin to pieces and put it on the flames. 10 minutes later. The effect of the venom began to fade, but Powell was like a puddle of mud, and the quilt he was wrapped in was soaked with sweat. Lilith asked with a smile, "Can you say what you just said again? Minister Powell? You, don't come over." Powell was so frightened that he cried bitterly. Noah stood up. "Let me ask you, why are the taxes in Rum Kingdom so heavy?" "Ah, Of course this is to pay the heavenly gold. Noah looked at Mary and she shook her head. He was not angry, but smiled and ordered, Lilith, give our minister more strength. No, no. I said. Lilith plunged 2 syringes into his arms again. Soon, the cave screamed like a slaughtering pig again. This time, Powell was sore and itchy for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, his eyes were dull and he was completely exhausted. Noah repeated the previous question again, let me ask you, why are the taxes in Rum Kingdom so heavy? This time Powell finally became honest and said cautiously, it's His Majesty the King. He asked me to do this. Oh. Why does he want so much money? Isn't this almost 10 times more than the gold in the sky? Huh. Powell slowed down, and then explained with a gloomy face, I don't know why, because I was promoted to Minister General only 3 years ago. Is there anything unusual about your king? Abnormal? Powell frowned. After a while, he seemed to remember something. The current king actually succeeded 5 years ago. He is not the son of the previous king, but his younger brother. Go on. 5 years ago, the only son of the previous king was killed by pirates. Not long after, the previous king died of illness. The current king who succeeded the throne was very normal at first, but 4 years ago, Clark, the former commander of the Royal Army, was killed by pirates. He promoted a man named Barton to succeed the army commander, and then began to introduce strict laws one after another. 3 years ago, the former chief minister, Earl Tim, was executed in the name of colluding with pirates. Then the king promoted me to the position of chief minister, and he asked me to promulgate various laws. Noah thought thoughtfully, is there anything strange about Barton? Barton? There is nothing special about him, but his strength is pretty good. If it weren't for his protection over the years, Rum Island would have been captured by pirates long ago. He is known as a hero among the people. Hero? Noah laughed. He seemed to have read this script before. After asking some other things, Noah sealed this guy in the card. Lilith seemed to see something. Brother, do you suspect that Barton has any conspiracy? If there is any problem, we will find out tomorrow. He wrote a letter casually, and then gave a few instructions to Ali. The next day, in the Powell mansion in Rum City, the housekeeper discovered that Powell, his wife and children had disappeared, and a letter was left at the scene. After reading the prompts on the letter, although the housekeeper wanted to know the contents, he still did not dare to open the fire seal. Come here, send someone to deliver this letter to the Legion commander's house. Okay, Mr. Butler. After the servant left, the butler's face looked a little uncertain. After thinking about it for more than 10 minutes, he quickly collected a large amount of treasure, disguised himself, and left Powell's mansion. Other side. Inside the residence of Army Commander Patton. Barton, who received the letter, looked very ugly at this time. He hurriedly left the mansion with a few confidants and rushed towards Cane Sugar Town. 5 hours later. In the southwest waters 48 kilometers away from Rum Island, a sail warship with the logo of the Kingdom of Rum appeared on the sea. Not far away is a desert island. As he got closer to the desert island, Barton's face became more and more gloomy as he stood on the bow of the ship. Brother, we're here. A bald man reminded. Barton clenched his fists. Log in, look at my signs later. Yes. The other 5 people were fully armed. As the ship docked, Patton and 5 of his men jumped onto the beach, leaving the bald man to watch the ship. Passing through the jungle, we came to a grassy hillside. A figure wearing a black windbreaker and a swirling mask was standing on the hillside, looking down at the arrival of Barton and his party. Where's Powell? He's in a safe place. Barton suddenly laughed. What do you want? Make a price. Let me guess, what is your ability? You have worked so hard to control the Rum Kingdom, can't you just do it for those waste papers? Noah looked into the other party's eyes calmly. Barton grinned and said with a smile, waste paper? That's more than 200 billion Baileys, aren't you tempted? As long as you are willing to join us, I can give you half of it. Don't people live just for treasure? And you can also become a noble of the Rum Kingdom. Isn't this better than venturing out to sea? It's such a tempting offer, but why should I join you and kill you so that I can get all the treasures? Barton's smile became brighter. It turns out that you are interested in the money. It doesn't matter. Make a friend. As long as you agree to join us and help me become the king of the Rum Kingdom, I can give you 300 billion belly. This makes me excited, Lord Sith. My friend, come help. Barton suddenly froze, and then there was a murderous intent in his eyes. How did you tell? Chapter 23 Falling into a Trap. The captain of the money pirates, Baroque Sith, a user with fruit exchange ability, with a bounty of 253.69 million baileys, was killed by Marine Major General Sikaski in the Seven Waters capital of the Grand Line 6 years ago. Noah's words were very calm. It seems that exchanging fruits can also allow you to obtain other people's bodies or organs. Barton lowered his head, his eyes hidden in the shadows, and suddenly his body trembled slightly. Yes, I appreciate you more and more, and finally give you a choice: join my pirate group, or die here. You are so confident. In the past few years, you have exchanged a lot of things in Rum Kingdom, right? Patton took action without hesitation. Die. More than a dozen crescent moon legs swept over. Do it. Flames erupted from the soles of Noah's shoes, his body rose into the air, and more than a dozen cards flew out. Liberation, the flood is rising. Hundreds of thousands of cubic meters of seawater suddenly erupted and hit Barton and others from mid-air. Nanny? Barton's face changed drastically, and he stamped his feet instantly, continuously stamping on the air. At the same time, he clenched his fists with both hands, and the armament on his body poured into his fists. Ha! 8 punches, penetrate the cracking wave. 2 shock waves hit the seawater waterfall in mid-air. The 5 cadres of the money pirates also reacted quickly and fled in all directions. Noah continued to draw cards in mid-air. The clearance is completed and the venue has been transformed. Dozens of cards exploded into the air in all directions. Soon the cards exploded in mid-air, and hundreds of tons of graphite powder were blown up all over the sky, like clouds of black mist covering the entire desert island. Barton, who had just rushed out of the seawater waterfall, looked very unhappy when he saw the scene in front of him. At the same time, the warship anchored on the coast, and the bald man who was watching the ship on the deck also saw the black mist over the desert island. He immediately drew his giant sword and was on guard for the changes on the island. But the next moment, fierce explosions came from the bottom of the battleship, and the continuous explosions completely destroyed the battleship. The bald man had no time to react, and his whole body was swept into the seabed by the shock wave of the explosion. Just as he endured the pain in his internal organs, he struggled to swim up to the sea. A figure that looked like a sharp sword suddenly appeared behind him. Before the bald man could react, his waist was pierced by a short sword. Ah, wow, gulu gulu. The bald man struggled painfully. However, that figure did not give him time to breathe, as another lightning-fast attack suddenly appeared behind him. The fierce bald man immediately drew his big sword and smashed it in the back, as if he wanted to kill both of them. But the dagger that attacked did not pause at all. The next moment, the short sword was inserted into the chest of the bald man. But the big sword of the bald man seemed to be cutting into the air, sliding directly past the opponent's body. Wow, gulu, gulu. The bald man could no longer control his mouth, and sea water rushed into his throat and lungs. He looked at the girl in front of him unwillingly, but his body became heavier and heavier. His opponent is Mary, who ate the slippery fruit. At this time, Mary was holding a small oxygen bottle respirator in her mouth, carrying 4 daggers on her back, and trying her best to maintain smooth mode. Without hesitation, Mary drew out her dagger again and cut off the bald man's head. Grom, the captain of the 8th Division of the Money Pirates and the giant sword with a bounty of 87.26 million baileys, was killed. After being washed away by Noah's sea water. The other 5 cadres of the Money Pirates have been scattered at this time. Troy, the sniper, is vigilant about the situation in the forest with a pistol. Especially after the strange black mist came, he tried his best to stimulate his emotions. Suddenly he ducked towards the big tree on the left. Boom! The place where I was standing just now was hit by a fireball. Damn it! Another ability user? Could these guys be from the world government? Troy's face was very ugly. He clenched the pistol with both hands and quickly jumped towards another big tree. Suddenly, he saw the color and went crazy. However, it was too late. In mid-air, hundreds of blue fire crows descended from the sky. Mimetic hydrogen and oxygen, the crows have fallen. The blue fire crow, which simulates the combustion of hydrogen and oxygen, covers the location of Troy indiscriminately. No. Troy's proud trick and spear skills were useless. Faced with the large-scale blow from the burning fruit, he was burned to ashes by blue flames in a moment. Troy, the sniper of the money pirates and with a bounty of 132 million Baileys, was killed. Cat Claw Brian, the fifth captain of the money pirates who fled to the coast, had entered a half-animal state and ran madly towards the coast. Damn it! There are actually people with the ability to control seawater. We must escape. There is no chance of winning if we stay. Just when he was flooded with thoughts, the ground shook suddenly, and then the ground fell apart, and a large amount of sea water emerged from the ground. Nanny? He was shocked, and immediately stepped on the moonwalk to take off to avoid being affected by the sea water emerging from the ground. Damn it, it's getting more and more dangerous here, we must get back to the ship immediately. However, he was still too happy too early. In mid-air, Lilith grabbed the special belt behind Ariai's back. Ale formed a hollow with the palms of his hands. Explode water shockwave. A huge wormhole formed in mid-air, and connected to the other side of the wormhole was the nearby seafloor. As if the sky had been pierced, a huge amount of seawater mixed with fish, shrimps, and sea monsters fell on Brian, who was walking on the moonwalk. Brian's beast instinct was triggered immediately, and the hairs all over his body suddenly stood up. Then he felt the surroundings darken, and his body was hit by sea water. It's over. These were his last thoughts. As a user with fruit abilities, Brian was hit by sea water, and the huge amount of sea water, coupled with the terrifying impact, gave Brian no chance to struggle. This is also due to Brian being too public. If he hadn't used the half-beast form during his escape, Lilith and Alei wouldn't have specifically targeted him. Lilith picked up the phone. Anthony, Tom and E, the devil fruit user who was knocked into the sea, please cooperate with Mary to catch him back. He will be seen alive and his body will be seen dead. Although he was robbed of his prey, Anthony still knew the seriousness of the matter. Leave it to us. The other side of the island. The two cadres of the money pirates who fled towards the mountains met Joseph and Vic, who were ambushing here. These two officers are both swordsmen of the money pirates, and they are also brothers. Are you the enemy? The one-eyed swordsman immediately waved his sword and slashed at Joseph. Joseph had already entered the half-animal state at this time, and was covered in steel armor, and the battle axes in his hands were even more armed and domineering. Bang bang bang. The axe blade collided fiercely with the blade. Animal-type ability user? Also armed with haki? One-Eye was very shocked. He did not expect to encounter such a monster in the East China Sea. And his younger brother Go Jian was also shocked at this time. Chapter 24 Fierce Battle. The gloves on Vic's fists were now covered with a pitch-black armed domineering force. The hook sword's sharp knife collided with Vic's glove. Both sides retreated at the first touch. Immediately, Vic kicked his legs fiercely, and several launchy air blades swept across. Hook sword dodges while covering the blade with its armament color to block the incoming long leg air blade. The one-eyed man who was entangled by Joseph felt more and more solemn as he listened to the sounds coming from other places. The two sides fought fiercely for several minutes, but they were still evenly matched. The reason for this embarrassing situation is that neither side can do anything about its opponent. The brothers One-Eye and Go Jian are high-speed players, while Vic and Joseph are high-defense players. If one side cannot break the defense, the other side cannot defeat the opponent. It was a stalemate. To break the situation, you can only rely on other people to rush over to support you. Obviously, the advantage at this time is on the side of the Noah family. Lilith and Alei, who had solved Cat Claw Brian, had already arrived in the sky above this place. Seeing the right moment, Alii jumped through a wormhole and suddenly appeared behind One Eye. Water breaks the wave. He unfolded a miniature wormhole the size of a thumb in the palm of his hand. At this time, the wormhole connected to the opposite side was in a trench of more than 8,000 meters under the sea. In such a deep trench, the water pressure exceeds 800 atmospheres. In an instant, a water jet swept towards Duyen's back. Joseph, who was opposite One Eye, immediately stepped on the ground. Shave! Joseph retreated instantly. The one-eyed seeing and hearing color has already sensed the danger and immediately rolled forward. The water jet swept across and the trees were cut in half. Just avoiding the water jet caused One Eye's rhythm to be disrupted. Bang bang bang. Ali held a revolver in his other hand, and combined with the indestructible water jet, he kept attacking One Eye. One Eye was soon bitten by a bullet. As he lost blood after being shot, his movements became more chaotic and his reactions became slower and slower. Joseph, who had just jumped out of the fighting range, quickly raised the stone and threw it at One Eye. Facing the One Eye attack from both front and back, the situation became increasingly precarious. No. The one who screamed was not One Eye, but his brother Go Jian. Just now, I was worried that my brother's hook sword was hit by the poisonous needle of Lilith who was lurking in the dark. The violent supracardiac glycoside toxin instantly caused his muscles to spasm and his heartbeat to become chaotic. The premise that seeing, hearing, being domineering requires calmness is broken. Vic seized the opportunity and broke Go Jian's left hand with a fist. The hook sword was so large that he had no time to dodge, and was hit by Lilith's poisonous needle again. Vic kept up his efforts and punched through the opponent's chest with his fist. Hearing his brother's screams, One Eye widened with anger and screamed, "Assholes! I'm going to kill you." However, Alii and the others did not fight blindly with the opponent, and directly launched a more violent attack. The water blades swept across and the bullets roared. Poison needles attack secretly, and boulders are projected. In less than 10 seconds, One Eye's body was covered with bullet holes, and the toxin spread rapidly. The next moment, the water jet cut him off at the waist, and a huge boulder falling from the sky hit his head, directly smashing One Eye's head. One Eye and Go Jian were killed. The last leader of the money pirates. He was running away like crazy at this time. He was very short in size, but his speed was not slow at all. Instead, he used his size to keep dodging trees in the forest. But he didn't know that he was being targeted. As the battle elsewhere comes to an end, Ajay, who had been secretly preparing to support his companions, finally took action. In an instant, countless black lines emerged from the forest. The graphene threads that were previously hidden in the forest seemed to come alive and surrounded the fleeing dwarfs. What? Bang bang bang. After emptying the pistol, the dwarf found that it had no effect at all, and immediately raised his hand. "I surrender, don't kill me, I know where Barton's money is hidden." Ajay, who was hiding in the dark, did not come out. Instead, he controlled the graphene threads and directly tied the dwarf into a dumpling. At this point, the 6 remaining cadres of the money pirates were completely wiped out. His eyes returned to the middle of the desert island. Barton, who was stepping on the moonwalk, looked at the black fog around him and the seawater still raging below. He found that the location chosen by the other party was very clever. The middle of the island was a lowland, which prevented the seawater from receding quickly. You must fight in the mountains, otherwise you will be easily affected by the sea water. He quickly stepped on the air and ran towards the hillside where Noah was standing just now. Noah raised his hand and shook it. The bomb card underground on the hillside was immediately activated. Barton, who was in mid-air, had just stepped onto the hillside, and when he saw the scene, he gave a frantic warning. "It's too late. Life exchange, black armor." In an instant, the hillside looked like a volcano erupting. The vitality in Barton's body continued to decrease, and the dark-armed domineering energy was consumed crazily. When the smoke cleared, Patton was still intact. Go to hell. Barton's hands condensed with terrifying armed domineering energy, 8 Chong fist, sea-splitting fist. Noah shot a card over, and the flames on the soles of his feet surged, and his body instantly rose up to hundreds of meters. The card was hit, and thousands of cubic meters of seafloor mud surged down instantly. The non-Newtonian fluid formed by the silt caused Barton's attack to stagnate, and then exploded the silt. Barton wanted to use Moonwalk to chase Noah again, but was hit by the rain of silt flying in the sky. He felt powerless for a moment. No, there is something wrong with this silt. However, there was too much mud around him, and Barton became increasingly weak. The next second, he became even more desperate. Because there was a big ball of seawater falling down from the top of my head. Boom! Barton was hit by the seawater, his body completely lost strength, and his fruit power showed no response. I'm not willing to give in. So what if you are unwilling to do so? The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit, and the loser is the loser. Noah took out the phone. Bug, Ajay, start the fishing net. Copy that, brother Noah. The graphene thread hidden in the central lowland soon picked up Barton, who was washed into the lowland by the sea water. However, in order to prevent the other party from pretending to be dead, Ajay followed Noah's instructions and soaked the other party's lower body in the sea water. Soon, in a swamp in the central lowlands, a graphite giant climbed up from under the swamp. The graphite giant, which was more than 10 meters high, was also connected to a large number of graphene wires. The graphite giant came not far from Noah, and then the graphite giant's chest popped open, revealing the cockpit inside. Ajay had been hidden in the graphite giant's body. Brother Noah. Unbind Barton. Clear. Immediately, the graphene threads on Barton's body were untied. Noah took out an iron bucket similar to an iron lung device and stuffed Barton into the bucket, leaving only one head outside the bucket. The bucket was filled with seawater. Then seal Barton into the card. Noah took Ajay, sealed another captured dwarf, and finally gathered at the beach. On the beach by the sea, Anthony soaked the cat paw Brian found by Mary in an oak barrel, which was naturally filled with seawater. Chapter 25 Causes and Consequences. Noah did the same thing to Brian the cat's paw. Then he asked R to open the wormhole, and the group returned to the underground cave on Rum Island. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Had it not been for the numerical advantage of the Noah family this time, and the battle plan formulated by Noah at the beginning, the result might have been a tragic victory. For example, Uncle Joseph and Vic have obvious shortcomings. They have no control skills or large-scale attack methods. They have no problems in the East China Sea. Once they reach the Grand Line, they may be targeted by the enemy. Noah asked some of his friends to rest first. He took Mary and Lilith to release the dwarf sealed in the card. As soon as he was released, the dwarf woke up from a dream and was startled by the sudden change in the environment. What do you call him? Mr. Dwarf? Noah asked with a smile while playing with the tarot cards in his hand. Gulu. The dwarf swallowed his throat and quickly replied, My name is Rudin, and I am the navigator of the money pirates. Did Barton help you change your appearance? Lu Dan was confused. Yes, Barton used his ability to help us transform it. What's going on with King Rum? King Rum is a member of our pirate group. The original king is dead. The current King Rum is Barton disguised through the fruit's ability. How much do you know about the ability to exchange fruits? Lu Dan was very knowledgeable and explained everything about how Barton used the fruit's abilities. According to Rudin's description and a few words from the Devil Fruit illustrated book, Noah quickly figured out the ability to exchange fruits. The core root of this fruit is equivalent exchange. Of course, this equivalent exchange is a relatively idealistic equivalent. After all, everyone's values are different. His honey is my arsenic, this is the principle. Therefore, when using the ability to exchange fruits, several conditions must be met. First, both parties personally agree to the transaction. Second, during the transaction, the capable person cannot take action against the traitor. Third, if both parties to the transaction are unable to pay the promised conditions, they will be forced to randomly deprive the untrustworthy person of part of his organs or part of his life force and hand them to the other party. Fourth, If the trader dies before completing the transaction, the person with abilities can designate to deprive the other party of part of his organs or part of his life force. That unlucky king listened to Barton's lies and asked Barton to help him plot to usurp the throne. In the end, he got away with it and was tricked by Barton. After all, there are too many loopholes in the so-called trading rules that can be exploited. For example, you cannot take action against the other party during the transaction. Barton's subordinates do not have this restriction. This is also the reason why Barton has been tempting Noah to agree to join the money pirates. As long as Noah agrees, the other party can force Noah not to do anything to him, and thus set traps for Noah through transactions one after another. From Rudden's explanation, Noah also knew Barton's strength. After being attacked by Sakaski, Barton, who fled to the East China Sea, learned from the experience and decided to use the fruit's ability to gain enough vitality, and then use the vitality to continuously exercise his body. The reason why a large number of exorbitant taxes and miscellaneous taxes are levied in Rum Kingdom is to force the civilians of Rum Kingdom to go bankrupt, and then conduct transactions with desperate civilians through secret underground loan sharking banks. If he hadn't met Noah and his group, he might have succeeded. And Noah was very grateful for his caution. Barton's physical skills are very powerful, and coupled with the huge vitality stored in his body, once he confronts the opponent head-on, Noah may not necessarily be able to defeat the opponent. This also shows from the side that the restraint of sea water on devil fruit users is terrible. Even a master like Barton, whose physical strength reaches the elite lieutenant general level, will turn into a soft-legged shrimp as soon as he touches the sea water. When Barton came over, did he say anything to the fake king? Lu Dan shook his head. No, as soon as he received your letter, he hurriedly brought us over without notifying the fake king. Seeing Noah's silence, Rudden quickly expressed his loyalty. Sir, if you need it, I can help control that guy. He has a lot of tricks in Barton's hands. In addition, I also know where Barton's money is hidden. Then I'll trouble you. Noah laughed. Lilith on the side took out a syringe, and with Lu Dan's uneasy eyes, inserted the syringe into the vein of the opponent's arm. Noah comforted him with a smile. Don't worry, as long as you don't betray me, I will naturally give you the antidote when the time comes. I understand, I understand. Lu Dan didn't dare to show anything. When Rudden was taken down by Lilith to rest, Mary and Noah were the only ones left in the room. Mary said what she had sensed just now. Brother, he should only know about the fake king. As for Barton's money, judging from his inner emotions just now, I don't think he knows. Normally, in order to avoid being beaten by us, he deliberately increased his importance. At noon that day, in the slums northwest of Rum City, there is an underground loan shark hidden underground. A dozen people in charge were already lying on the ground. Lilith and Noah got a large stack of documents and looked through them for a few minutes. Noah smiled and patted the document in his hand. Rudden, you did a good job. It is my honor to be able to help you, sir. The next second, his eyes widened, and he saw Lilith's poison dagger piercing her heart from behind. Ahem, why? Because I have never believed you. Only dead people will not leak secrets. Looking at Lu Dan, who was still dead, Noah took out a card named Pond of Royal Water, released it, and casually threw Lu Dan's body into the pool of king water. Lu Dan, who had just been thrown into the king's pool, immediately screamed. Noah asked with a smile, returning life is a good practice, but it's a pity that I don't like leaving corpses for the enemy. You have to die, Finally, Lu Dan turned into a pool of blood in the Aqua Regia. Lilith, Mary, this place is left to you too. Just let them obey for the time being. Lilith and Mary nodded. Soon the pair were hammering the moneylenders. The fake king didn't know at this time that Patton and others were already finished, and he didn't care about General Secretary Powell, because he knew that he was just a puppet, just waiting to die and enjoying himself. Noah, who returned to the underground cave, released Brian, the cat's claw, who was imprisoned in the card. Looking at the unconscious Brian in front of him, there was a trace of thought in his eyes. Chapter 26 Apostles. Looking at the cat paw Brian in front of him, he turned his head to Eli, who was aside. Ari immediately concentrated his attention, and soon a palm-sized wormhole appeared on Brian's forehead. Behind the wormhole was Brian's brain. Noah had already sterilized the scalpel, and then without hesitation, he slashed towards Brian's brain and removed the prefrontal lobe of his brain. Okay, let's close the wormhole. Okay. As Ali revoked his ability, Brian's forehead returned to its original shape, and there was nothing abnormal on the surface. This is the convenience of the devil fruit ability. If a normal surgeon were to perform a craniotomy, he would need to make complex preparations in advance and face various risks of infection. The use of the power of the Dong Dong fruit, coupled with the domineering power of knowledge, directly avoids the process of craniotomy, minimizes the risk of surgery, and also reduces the difficulty of the surgery. Even if Noah had only performed surgeries and related experiments on animals, Brian's prefrontal lobe could be safely removed. With the prefrontal lobe removal surgery completed, Noah soaked the iron bucket in sea water and took it away. A moment later, after Brian emerged from the sea water, the animal-type devil fruit hidden in his body began to revive. The powerful body recovery ability of the animal type allowed his body to recover quickly. Together with the bottle of nutritional supplements, more than an hour later, Brian woke up on his own. However, Brian, who had just woken up, had dull eyes, and his whole body seemed to be in a state of having no desires or desires. Brian? Exist. How do you feel now? Have no idea. Noah asked more than a dozen questions and quickly confirmed the other party's status. But just in case, he still called Mary back and asked her again under Mary's perception. Mary looked at Brian in shock. Brother, what happened to him? Why is he so calm? Even a little abnormally calm. I performed an operation on him, a prefrontal lobotomy. Lobotomy? This surgery has only one effect, and that is to remove emotions. Mary's eyes widened, and she murmured to herself unbearably, there is such a surgery, but isn't it too cruel? Mary, those ordinary people who died at the hands of Brian are the ones you should sympathize with. Don't sympathize with these scum of the sea. Maybe they went to sea out of necessity in the first place, but this is not an excuse for them to do evil. If he takes action against the world government and the celestial dragons, then I will admire him as a man. From the moment he takes action against the weak and innocent people, they become evil dragons, no different from the so-called celestial dragons. Mary was silent. When she thought of the common people in Rum Kingdom, her sympathy for Brian suddenly disappeared. Brother, I understand. If we want to change the world, we must show no mercy to the evil people, because the evil people will not show mercy because of your compassion, but will take advantage of your compassion. Your kindness should not be left to these scum of the sea. Yes, Brother Noah. Noah continued to examine Brian's body and run a series of tests. With the completion of a series of tests, Noah discovered that after having his prefrontal lobe removed, Brian completely lost his emotions, but the side effects were also very obvious, that is, the other party could only act based on biological instincts, and it was difficult to obey his orders 100%. Execution, and its domineering power has completely disappeared. Noah had expected this. Emotion is the root of biological behavior. After losing emotion, living things become zombies. But this is also the result Noah wants. I saw him take out a tarot card, and the card on it was the Paper of Wands, from the Minor Arcana deck. The root of the heart, the crystallization of illusion. Attendant of the scepter, I give it to you. The card was placed on Brian's chest and heart, and in an instant the golden flame cloud pattern on the card began to spread all over Brian's body. Brian didn't resist at all, and was soon covered in golden flame cloud patterns, turning into a golden cocoon. Then the golden cocoon began to fade away, and he still looked like Brian, but his eyes became lively. After a while, Brian knelt down on one knee. Master. Your loyal servant Brian salutes you. Do you have all of Brian's memories? Yes, Master. Can I use Haki? Okay. As soon as he finished speaking, Brian activated the Haki of knowledge and the Haki of arms. Where's the fruit ability? You can do the same. Brian's body expanded and turned into a half-animal form, the ocelot form of the cat fruit. Noah thought, return. Brian's body turned into a golden light, and then condensed into a card. However, at this time, the pattern on the card had changed from its previous appearance to that of Brian, and there was an ocelot lying behind him. The name also became Squire of Wands, Brian. He called the products of this transformation apostles. Its essence is to cut off the prefrontal lobe of a normal person to completely lose their emotions, and then use the spirit of the tarot cards as an emotional substitute for the person being transformed, thereby creating an apostle who obeys his orders. The step of removing the prefrontal lobe is essential. The reason is that the instinctive will of the card spirit, as the fruit of the cards, is divided into 22 major arcana cards and 56 minor arcana cards, resulting in very little instinctive will stored in them, which is not enough to suppress people with normal emotions. Normal people. Therefore, normal people must be made to lose their emotions before they can be used as raw materials for making apostles. In addition, Noah also tested the effect of Conqueror's Haki on the apostles. The result is that the effect is not great, because the core of the apostle's soul is a combination of a broken human soul plus a card spirit plus a devil fruit. Especially due to the compatibility of the card spirit and the devil fruit, it can use part of the instinctive will of the devil fruit to strengthen improved its resistance to Conqueror's Haki. Of course, this also has something to do with Noah's will. As the master of cards, Noah's willpower and thoughts will affect the willpower of the card apostle. If the card master is timid and afraid of getting into trouble, then the card apostle will also be timid and afraid of getting into trouble. Conqueror's Haki works best on people with weak willpower. With the birth of the first card apostle, Noah has clearly understood the awakening method of the card fruit. As long as he creates the apostles corresponding to the 22 major arcana cards and 56 minor arcana cards, the card fruits will naturally awaken. However, it is very difficult to create all the corresponding apostles of the tarot cards. Because apostles cannot use random raw materials, devil fruit users are the best materials, and they also have to select suitable devil fruits, which further increases the difficulty. But if it is really possible to create a complete set of tarot apostles, then Noah's strength will reach an unprecedented height. Chapter 27 Demon, Pan Button. According to the law, Noah soon transformed Barton into a tarot apostle. However, Barton does not belong to the minor arcana deck, but to the major arcana deck. The card is Devil, Pan Button. As the raw materials for making card apostles, and the apostles they create, they are not random, but have their inherent origins. The reason why Brian was used to make the Page of Wands is because the devil fruit in his body is an ocelot. The Page of Wands represents a naughty little boy with a changeable and passionate personality, which has a similar affinity with the ocelot. Similarly, the exchange fruit in Barton's body has a similar affinity to the demon Pan. Using the exchange fruit to gain power is just like the devil's transaction to deceive mortals. Looking at Barton in front of him, Noah showed a trace of satisfaction in his eyes. After several years of planning, Barton has gained tremendous vitality, but of course this vitality cannot significantly increase his lifespan. Human lifespan is determined by genes. Barton gained the vitality of thousands of people, but his lifespan limit was only raised to 200 years and could not be increased anymore. The fundamental reason is that 200 years is the life limit of the human species. This is like a bottle, and the vitality is the water in the bottle. No matter how much water there is, it cannot change the capacity of the bottle. And as time goes by, the bottle will break and the water it can hold will become less and less. To change the upper limit of the bottle, you must change your own genes, and this is something that can only be done by surgical fruits. Of course, even so, the vitality in Barton's body is also a huge wealth. The vitality can replace one's own vitality consumption during the cultivation process, and can also be used for rapid treatment. Otherwise, why did Patton go from a loser who couldn't stop Sikorsky's punch to an elite lieutenant general level master in about 5 years? You must know that Barton was already 43 years old at this time, and it was less than 8 years before he got the fruit of the exchange. There are other applications for exchanging fruits, some of which even Lu Dan and other subordinates are not aware of. For example, if a traitor dies, the ability user can not only obtain part of the other party's organs and vitality, but even the memory. This is also the reason why Barton knows the 8 punches, 6 marine styles, domineering and life return. It was through the ability to exchange fruits that he secretly killed a 8-treasure Navy cadre and 2 fallen Marine officers to obtain these training methods. Barton, sell me your life force. Okay, master, you need to pay me 1 silver coin. As Noah handed Barton a silver coin. In an instant, a life force flowed out of Barton's body and then rushed into Noah's body. The hidden wounds and fatigue all over his body were like nectar after a long drought. The hidden wounds began to repair themselves little by little, and the fatigue quickly subsided. This vitality is equivalent to about 10 years of life of an ordinary person. Noah seemed to feel that every cell in his body was cheering for joy. After all, the arduous training before was not as good as the inheritance of those orthodox forces. Unknowingly, there were many hidden injuries on his body. In fact, this is also a common problem among many nouveau riche forces. Why can Marine and world government suppress the sea for 800 years? It is because of its strong foundation and inheritance. For example, Whitebeard was indeed terrifyingly strong when he was young. However, the hidden damage caused by the shock fruit caused his strength to plummet when he was old. If Whitebeard was from Marine or world government, then his body would definitely receive better maintenance, as well as a variety of systematic physical skills, medical treatment, and secret treasures, which could at least keep him at his peak for more than 10 years. Now Noah and others can finally practice unscrupulously by using the vitality accumulated in Barton's body. But cultivation is something that comes later. There is one most important thing to do now. He called everyone together. After everyone took their seats, Noah revealed his next plan. Noah's plan is very simple, that is, to continue Barton's plan to usurp the country. As long as some of the details are modified, this plan can be taken over by Noah. After all, Barton is now the guardian hero of the Rum Kingdom, the fake king has something to do with it, and General Secretary Powell has also become a prisoner of Noah. Originally, Barton planned to have someone pretend to be a pirate, raid the fake king who was about to go to marry Joah for a meeting, and then take the throne himself. Unfortunately, Noah noticed a problem after reading this plan. The first problem is that the person responsible for escorting the fake king to marry Joah is Donghi Marine, a bad guy who might meet Garp who is on his way home to visit relatives. The second question is, although the fake king is fake, other people don't know about it. Once the other party contacts the world government through the phone bug during the pirate raid, Barton's plan will inevitably fail, and it may even become a conspiracy for others. Wedding clothes. The third question is, although the fake king is infamous and Barton has the blessing of a hero's name, there are other nobles in the Rum Kingdom, and they are not willing to see an outsider become the new king. Therefore, killing the false king must be a bad idea. Noah's plan was very simple. Soon the group took action immediately. In the palace, although the fake king often indulges in debauchery, in fact, he always has a phone bug ready in his sleeve, specifically for the purpose of dying together. Unfortunately, he met Noah who didn't play by the rules. With the help of Barton's secret inside the palace, Lilith took Alii and quietly sneaked into the toilet in the fake king's room by digging a hole in the ground. As soon as the fake king entered the toilet, he was stunned by Lilith before he could react. The next moment, brought the fake king to the laboratory in the underground cave. Noah and joined forces and cut off each other's frontal lobe without hesitation, and then woke the other up. "Uncle, are you ready?" Uncle Joseph nodded. "Noah, I'm ready." "Barton, let's start. Let's fight quickly." Barton looked at the fake king with dull eyes, and then said, "Give me your face, and I will give you your original face." "Okay." The fake king agreed without hesitation. Exchange successful. In an instant, Barton unfolded the exchange scale in his hand, the fake king's face changed back to its original appearance, and Barton got the fake king's face. Barton then swapped the fake king's face with Uncle Joseph's. Uncle Joseph's body shape is similar to that of the false king, but he is 27 centimeters taller. If it were before, Uncle Joseph really couldn't pretend to be the other party, but now he can, because Barton not only exchanged the face of the fake king to Uncle Joseph, but also returned the life under his own control to Uncle Joseph. This special memory exchange will not make Barton lose the ability to return life. However, Barton was very wary of his subordinates before, so he naturally did not use this ability on his subordinates. Uncle Joseph passed through life and adjusted his body, and soon he became exactly like the fake king. The next thing is to exchange the false king's memory and then give it to Uncle Joseph. Chapter 28, Changing the Sky and Changing the Day. With the memory of the false king, Uncle Joseph's disguise can be almost flawless. Of course, Noah and others still need to solve the last hidden danger. The fake king disguised by Uncle Joseph passed through Ars wormhole and returned to the toilet in the bedroom, and only about 18 minutes had passed. In some hidden corners of the bedroom, several customized versions of the phone bugs were working silently. Mackerel Town in Rum Kingdom. Inside a hidden private house, there are unique underground facilities. At this time, in this underground facility, a middle-aged man with a special ring collar on his neck looked at the screen fed back by the phone bug with sleepy eyes. The scene in the picture is clearly the bedroom of the fake king. Moreover, on the middle-aged man's table, there is a glass bottle with a piece of paper inside. Suddenly, a tiny wormhole opened inside the underground monitoring room, and a colorless and odorless gas penetrated from the opposite side of the wormhole. The middle-aged man's eyelids became heavier and heavier, and he fell on the table in a moment. Then the wormhole expanded, and Alii and Lilith walked over from the opposite side of the wormhole. Alii picked up the glass bottle on the table with great interest. Is this life paper? That fake really has some brains. He actually used a slave to monitor himself and left a life sheet. He is obviously very wary of Barton. Lilith found another image phone bug from the middle-aged slave. Turn on the play button, and the image phone bug will project the picture on the wall. The fake king in the picture directly revealed the existence of Barton and the money pirates, and that he was a puppet supported by Barton. Obviously this matter was a hidden danger that Barton had not anticipated. If it goes according to the original plan. Once the false king's life paper is burned, the slave will hand over the phone bug to the Morgans. As for how to ensure that the slave would be obedient, the fake king used both soft and hard tactics. On the one hand, he promised the slave that once he died, he would give the slave a large sum of money. At the same time, the fake king only knew the password to activate the collar bomb. When the fake king died, the slave would be free. But in order to prevent slaves from doing things without taking money, the fake king also left a letter and the slave's life certificate in the palace treasury. The content of the letter was very simple. It was to tell Barton that he had left a phone bug. In other words, once Barton reads this letter, the fate of the slave can be imagined. Moreover, the fake king arranged not just one, but 3 monitoring slaves, as long as one of them handed over the phone bug to Morgans. The 3 slaves knew each other's existence, but they did not know each other's location and appearance. In this way, a chain of suspicion is formed. In addition, the fake king has always been wary of Barton's exchange fruits, and has never reached an exchange contract with Barton again. Even if Barton kills the other party, he cannot obtain the fake king's memory. It's a pity that the fake king's organs were exhausted, but he met Noah and was immediately kicked out of the cauldron. Lilith and Arii quickly raided the secret stronghold of the 3 slaves and destroyed all the phone bugs and life papers. As for the 3 slaves, Noah also used Barton's exchange fruits to exchange their vitality with a silver coin. Because these 3 guys were pirates before becoming slaves, he would naturally not show mercy. If they are civilians with no evil deeds, Noah will temporarily seal them in the card, and then absorb them as peripheral members of the family through guidance and education. After all hidden dangers have been dealt with. In the name of the king, Uncle Joseph ordered all the nobles in the country to hold a farewell party in Sugarcane Town. Because there are less than 10 days left before the arrival of the marine escort fleet. 3 days later. In the Honey Palace in Cane Sugar Town. Joseph and a group of nobles acted in vain. After 3 rounds of drinking, Joseph sneered in his heart, "Eat. Let's go on the road together later." Suddenly, a group of misdemeanor Madara's disciplinary knights rushed into the palace. "What are you doing?" A noble lady wearing black pearls scolded the knight who rushed in harshly. The next moment, her head rolled several times on the floor. "Ah. Hole. Are you going to rebel?" Joseph immediately entered the state and roared in panic. Ha ha ha. Your Majesty the King, long time no see. Noah, who changed his body shape through the return of life and had Powell's big face, looked like a successful villain. Powell, are you? This king treats you well, why do you do this to me? Joseph howled with emotion. Ha ha ha, it's so funny. Do you really think you are the wise king of the Rum Kingdom? No, right? Do you know why? Because you have now become a tyrant despised by all people. Joseph looked in disbelief. Why? Why is this happening? This is impossible. My dear king, I will make it clear to you that I ordered the collection in your name. Noah told the story in Powell's tone. Everyone present was stunned. Ha ha ha, are you very shocked? I have been preparing for this moment for 3 years, and now you can go die. As soon as he finished speaking, the disciplinary knights and Lilith who were hiding in the dark went straight to kill the nobles who had done bad things. Help! Don't kill me, Mr. Powell, I am willing to surrender. Yes, I am also willing to surrender. Noah looked at everyone with a sneer. Do you think I am a fool? Since I told you my plan, I have no intention of letting you leave here alive. Kill me. At this time, Joseph was taking a few servants loyal to the royal family, plus a few kind-hearted little nobles who deliberately missed it, using a room as a fortress to fight against the incoming disciplinary knights. At this moment, Barton broke open the palace door. Boom! Powell, you rebellious traitor! Go to hell! Nanny? Why are you here? Humph, you think you can kill me by colluding with pirates to lure me out to sea? Powell, today is the day you die. Noah, pretending to be Powell, suddenly swelled up and then struggled with Barton. The two of them were stalling for time, until the nobles who had done bad things in Madara were all killed, and then Noah pretended to be knocked down and lay on the ground pretending to be dead. Barton immediately unleashed his Kamui and slaughtered all the punishment knights on the scene. The remaining dozen nobles were all of good character. They breathed a sigh of relief at this time, but they looked at Barton with something strange. After all, these nobles are not fools. They naturally saw that Barton was cheating on the match just now and deliberately allowed Powell's disciplinary knights to massacre those nobles who had done bad things. Madara's nobles. Sure enough, as Barton took out the video phone bug hidden in the Honey Palace, the remaining dozen nobles knew that all this was Barton's plan. However, when they saw the happy look on the king's face, and Barton's very respectful attitude towards him, they suddenly felt a turmoil in their hearts towards this king who usually only played, drank and had fun. Soon, the king took the video phone bug provided by Barton, plus the self-incrimination video he recorded, and the decree to exempt taxes for 1 year, provide relief for work, and crack down on underground loan sharks, and had people announce it in every town in the country. The public sentiment of the entire Rum Kingdom was suddenly reversed. Powell became the object of contempt for everyone, while our King Rum 8, Joseph, and the commander of Patton's army became the great savior. At this point, the entire Rum Kingdom completely fell into the hands of the Noah family. Chapter 29 Fading Away. Sugar Town in Rum Kingdom. At this time, local residents spontaneously held various celebration activities. The marine escort fleet that had just arrived from the Wiko Kingdom and the dozen or so kings accompanying them were all surprised when they saw the port decorated with lights. Garp, who was standing on the deck eating donuts, glanced towards the port without noticing anything unusual. Adjutant Bogart on the side took out a copy of the intelligence that Marine had just received and whispered. 3 days ago, a serious civil strife occurred in the Kingdom of Rum. The general minister colluded with pirates and massacred many nobles in Sugarcane Town at the time, and planned to kill King Rum 8. After listening to Bogart's explanation, Garp looked at Rum 8 who was at the dock. Joseph on the dock seemed to have also seen Garp, but he was very calm and did not think that he would be seen through by Garp. After all, there are only a few who can see people's hearts like the Red Earl. And people with this kind of special knowledge and domineering power will most likely not be loyal to the world government. What's more, Joseph has Eret's special gem coordinates on his body. In case of an emergency, he can also ask Alec to transfer him. Not bad. This king has some strength. Bogart nodded. According to intelligence, the opponent is a fruit-powered person, and his ability is the form of an animal-type silverback gorilla. Garp poured the remaining donuts into his mouth and said with a smile while chewing the donuts, "Ha ha ha, whatever, we just need to send these kings and heavenly gold to Mary Jo, that's it." At the same time, in a restaurant in the port, Noah and others were also dining, but they were in an exclusive box, which had a clear view of the port. He didn't step up to the plate with Garp's ideas, because the two sides are not the same person at all. Garp has no value in winning over the Noah family. Just based on his position in the Valley of Gods incident, you can know the justice of the other party, which is a joke. If it was just like this, then Noah wouldn't despise the other party too much. For example, Sakaski, Noah just feels that he has a different position from the other party, but Noah will not despise the other party, because Sakaski is the loyal dog of the world government. At this point, Sakaski has always implemented his beliefs. However, Garp is simply a two-faced person. He said that he couldn't stand the celestial dragons, and he protected the celestial dragons of the Valley of Gods. He was said to be loyal to the world government, and he secretly raised Roger's son. His son was also the leader of the Revolutionary Army, and his grandson became a great pirate. In addition, during the South Blue Baby incident, Garp showed extremely double standards. For the sake of Roger's son, he sat back and watched South Blue's baby be slaughtered by the world government. So in essence, what is the difference between him and the world government and the celestial dragons? Such a person is a typical thought of an aristocratic family. As long as it doesn't involve the people he cares about, he almost doesn't care at all and can only shout a few slogans. If he is truly loyal to the world government, he should carry out his loyalty to the end and directly report the existence of Roger's wife and son. If he really despises the celestial dragons, he should just sit back and do nothing in the Valley of the Gods, or help Rox directly. As a result, he did the opposite every time. Then he fought on the top again, showing a grief-stricken posture. Isn't this all his own fault? From the moment he secretly adopted Ace, he should have known that Ace was taboo from the world government and there were only two ways he could go. Either don't tell Ace's identity, and then arrange for the other person to become an ordinary person. Either tell Ace his identity, retire immediately, leave Marine, and face everything in the future with Ace. As a result, he chose a very wise approach. He not only informed Ace of his life experience, but also continued to stay in Marine. In the end, Ace was executed, and he was incompetent and furious there. Did Sakaski make a mistake in fighting the war? The answer is no. Noah has no intention of wooing the Garp family. One is double-standard double-dealing. One is a weak naivete. One is a die-hard liberal. As long as the five elders don't have Alzheimer's disease, the monkey family won't survive more than 3 episodes. If we rely on people like this to save the world, we might as well let Buggy be one piece. At least Buggy was a real pirate from beginning to end. It is not terrible for a person to do many evil things. The terrible thing is to do evil without knowing it. The world is not black and white, but a delicate gray, but most people don't like black disguised as white. Noah's goal from beginning to end is to overthrow the rule of the celestial dragons and build a brand new world, rather than patching things up within the old framework. With the initial accumulation of strength, he has begun to practice. Taking over the Rum Kingdom is just the beginning. The sun sets in the port of Cane Sugar Town. The Marine escort fleet moved further and further into the distance under the setting sun. After Noah and his party watched Uncle Joseph leave, they began to secretly integrate the entire Kingdom of Rum. With Barton as a chess piece on the surface and the decree left by Rum 8, the Noah family opened an underground base in the northeast of Rum Island and asked Ali to leave a spatial coordinate point in the base. Then the troops divided into 2 groups. Along the way were R, Vic, and Anthony. They were sent to the Kingdom of Wiko to find the sonic fruit in the Kingdom of Wiko. Noah and others stayed in the Rum Kingdom and continued to strengthen their control over the Rum Kingdom. In particular, Mary, who had emotional perception, knowledge, and color, was almost an indispensable member in the process of expanding the family's personnel. Many people with ulterior motives cannot escape Mary's perception. This greatly ensures the loyalty and purity of the core members of Noah's family. Even the Rum Kingdom army controlled in the name of Patton has spies from many forces within it. Among these spies, there are people from the CP organization, people from domestic nobles, and even people from the Revolutionary Army, pirates, and underground forces. Without Mary, it would be 100% difficult to find these hidden spies. Those confirmed spies were secretly assigned to work in Cane Sugar Town and Rum City, while Bamboo Cane Town and Mackerel Town were purified to facilitate the secret development of the Noah family in these two towns. The more than 200 billion Baileys that Barton had secretly hidden before were also taken over by the Noah family. The money was not returned to Rum's victims. After all, this kind of favor was a one-time benefit. It not only made those civilians dependent, but also easily led to the consequences of turning against each other. It is better to use this money to start a large-scale construction project of providing relief for work. Of course, for those who have lost the ability to work, they will be directly protected through the relief homes. At this time, the internal changes in the Rum Kingdom did not attract much attention. This is also one of Noah's strategies. He will not openly rebel before he has enough strength. At this stage, as long as it does not touch the bottom line of the world government and pays a sufficient amount of heavenly gold every year, the world government will not easily attack the law-abiding member countries in the face of the increasingly unstable sea and the big pirate group in the New World. Chapter 30 Tsunami. The Southwest Sea area is 355 kilometers away from the Kingdom of Rum. An armed merchant ship flying the flag of Rum Commercial Company was sailing quickly towards the Kingdom of Oiket. Suddenly, on a black desert island not far away, a pillar of fire shot into the sky. Boom! Anthony, who was on the observation deck of the armed merchant ship, saw this scene, and his face turned extremely ugly. He immediately sounded the alarm. Vic and R, who were resting in the cabin, came to the deck immediately. They saw the panicked crew and the terrifying pillar of fire in the distance. Undersea volcano erupts. What to do? Anthony jumped down from the observation deck and immediately ordered, "Alii, you immediately open the wormhole in the cab and teleport everyone back to the secret port of Mackerel Town. Vic, please call all crew members to the bridge immediately." Alii ran towards the cab and clasped his hands together. "The wormhole is open." After a while, a dozen crew members, led by Vic, quickly came to the cab, and then filed into the wormhole. Just 10 seconds after everyone left the merchant ship, a large meteor shower of hot lava fell from the sky. However, this was just the appetizer, because soon a tsunami hundreds of meters high swept over and spread rapidly in all directions. Anthony and others, who had just returned to Mackerel Town, immediately reported the incident to Noah. After hearing this, Noah immediately summoned all members in the Rum Kingdom, while R and Lilith acted as a monitoring team and immediately went to monitor the incoming tsunami. The distance of 355 kilometers means that when the tsunami reaches the waters near the Kingdom of Rum, its power is estimated to be more than half. The southwest of Rum Island is a hilly area with an altitude of only about 20 to 80 meters, and its coastal areas cannot withstand a tsunami attack of more than 50 meters. Noah immediately arranged for Barton to take people to relocate the residents along the southwest coast. At the same time, he also received a phone bug report from Lilith and knew that the tsunami was very fast and was currently less than 200 kilometers away from Rum Island. It was estimated that the tsunami would reach Rum Island in less than an hour. He didn't sit still. The first time he took Ajay and Lillian, together with the returning R, was teleported through the wormhole to a small island about 80 kilometers away from Rum Island. This island is very small, covering an area of less than tens of thousands square meters. The reason why they came to this small island is because this small island is on the midline between the tsunami and Rum Island. Noah plans to weaken the tsunami as much as possible here. Ajay, use graphite to build a V-shaped wave dike. Yes, brother Noah. Ajay inserted his hands into the soil under his feet, and soon a huge V-shaped graphite embankment emerged from the ground, with its sharp angle facing the direction of the tsunami. This kind of graphite creation is a temporary thing. Once the Esper's physical strength cannot support it, or the Esper becomes unconscious, these creations will revert to the previous material. Those permanent graphites were not essentially created by Ajay using the fruit's ability, but were synthesized by using the fruit's ability to extract free carbon elements from the surrounding environment. If the graphite fruit can create graphite out of thin air, or transform other non-carbon elements into graphite, then its power will definitely be no less than a star-destroying existence. Even if the devil fruit enters the awakened state, there is no way to permanently create elements and transform elemental forms out of thin air. Take Doflamingo's thread fruit, for example. After he enters the awakening state of the fruit, the surrounding materials will become thread-like, but this change is only temporary. Once Doflamingo no longer uses physical strength to maintain, or falls into a coma, the surrounding thread-like matter will soon return to its original state. At this time, the V-shaped embankment on the island is expanding crazily and Yamato is getting taller. At the same time, Lillian's whole body turned into flame form. However, Lillian's flame form was different from the orange-red color of previous burning fruit users, but blue-white. The sun has no mercy. The blue-white fireball suddenly expanded with Lillian as the core, and its radius expanded by hundreds of meters in an instant. Then the blue and white fireball hit the sea from midair. Sizzling. In an instant, the edge of the fireball came into contact with the sea surface, and the sea water immediately boiled, reaching an extreme temperature of 2,830 degrees Celsius. This is the power of simulated hydrogen and oxygen combustion. The fireball hit the central area of the sea, and the boiling seawater not only turned into water vapor, but even part of the water was split into hydrogen and oxygen, further intensifying the power of the flames. In less than 10 minutes, a hole with an area of more than 1 kilometer appeared on the sea in front of the island. Lillian was standing on the glassy dry sea bed at this time, panting heavily. It was obvious that this move was a huge burden for her at such a young age. But Lillian's mission was completed at this time. Because the huge hole in front of us is enough to cause a small tsunami. Lillian turned into a flame man again, left the dry seabed, and appeared behind the island's dam. Compared with Lillian's powerful force that can produce miracles, Noah's operation is more technical. He threw dozens of blank cards into the seabed in an arrangement and combination, and then instantly sealed the surrounding seawater into the blank cards. In an instant, a series of hollow areas appeared on the sea. The seawater will quickly fill these holes, but the sudden appearance of the holes will cause the surrounding sea level to drop, resulting in a subsident tsunami. These depression-type tsunamis spread in all directions. Although their power is not great, they can only set off tsunamis of a few meters at most, but they cannot withstand their dense numbers. Waves of small tsunamis spread in all directions. Soon we encountered a tsunami caused by a volcanic eruption. Although the tsunamis generated by submarine volcanoes pushed these small tsunamis flat, their power was still weakened a little bit. When the tsunami came near the island, Noah stood on the levee that was more than 50 meters high and visually inspected it for a moment. At this time, the height of the tsunami in this section was only about 50 meters. He immediately threw the previously sealed sea water card into the air. Liberation. Torrent. Tens of millions of cubic meters of seawater fell from the sky and hit the tsunami waves. Lillian, who had been resting for a while, immediately turned into a mobile fort. The roar of the fire dragon. Dragons of flames rushed towards the tsunami ahead. Continuous weakening caused the height of the tsunami to drop to less than 20 meters when it hit the embankment, causing a large hole to be cut by the embankment. After completing this action to block the tsunami, Noah looked at the rough sea in front of him. His conqueror's domineering power seemed to have been sublimated, and his courage became even more powerful. Yamato solidified. When the tsunami came near Rum Island, its power was no longer fearful. Although there were still waves of more than 10 meters, residents on the south blue coast of Rum Island had already evacuated, and naturally there were no large-scale casualties. As for other places affected by the tsunami, you can only hope for your own good. After all, Noah's strength at this time is not enough to completely eliminate such a huge tsunami. The natural power of this blue planet is indeed an irresistible terror for ordinary people. Chapter 31 Deep in Magma. January 7, 1504 in the Hyuan calendar. After the twists and turns of the tsunami, Vic and Anthony continued to the kingdom of Wiko. Noah asked Lilith to take Lillian, and the two went to the sea where the volcano erupted before. There was naturally a reason why the two women were allowed to go to the sea area where the volcano erupted. At this time, a piece of land with a radius of several kilometers appeared at the location where the submarine volcano erupted. These lands were obviously formed by the volcanic eruption. In addition to the solidified obsidian and volcanic rocks, there is also a lot of uncooled and solidified magma in the center. This molten magma continues to flow in all directions from the eruption vent, and from time to time, white mist of hot water vapor emerges. A flame fell from the sky, and then turned into a girl wearing a Gothic dress, and it was Lillian. Lilith, who gently flapped her wings, looked at her sister standing on the edge of the crater, with some worry on her face. Although Lillian has exited the elemental mode, it does not mean that the magma flowing from the crater can threaten her. After all, she was instilled with a lot of scientific knowledge by Noah, as well as various directions for the development of devil fruits. The intensity of the burning fruit in her body has surpassed that of previous burning fruit ability users. Why does the Xiao Xiao fruit look so crotch-stretching on Ace? The answer lies with Ace. If you expect an illiterate person to deeply develop Xiao Xiao fruit, it is no less than hoping to make a fortune by buying lottery tickets. Garp throws Ace to the bandit Dayton to raise him. Ace can read and rely on the proprietress of the bar in Windmill Village to teach him. In this environment, he can read and learn some common sense of life, which is basically the result of the proprietress's seriousness and responsibility. Although Noah is not a scientist, as a college graduate living in the era of the information explosion, he is still a science student, so he still knows some scientific knowledge. The development direction of the burning fruit is not on the flame, but on the word burning. To burn means to burn. Combustion is the process of matter entering plasma form. The core of the Xiao Xiao fruit is to simulate the combustion of substances. When ordinary fuel burns in the air, the temperature is 600 to 700 degrees Celsius. This is also the reason why the temperature of Ace's Xiao Xiao fruit cannot go up. So how to increase the combustion temperature? The answer is naturally to choose more suitable fuels and oxidizers. The combustion substances that Lillian simulated at this time were pure oxygen and hydrogen. The combination of the two raised the combustion temperature to a height of 2830 degrees Celsius. The magma in front of her was only over 1000 degrees Celsius. Not only could it not harm Lillian, but it would be burned back by Lillian's flames. Of course, Lillian was not trying to show off that her flame temperature could burn magma, but to enter the magma. Lillian, who re-entered elemental mode, plunged into the magma lake in the crater. After entering the magma, she did not feel any discomfort. Instead, she felt her body was warm and she felt like she was back home. Lillian did not stay on the surface of the magma lake. Instead, after estimating her physical strength, she quickly drilled deeper into the ground. As the depth continued to increase, she felt that the temperature of the surrounding magma was slowly increasing. It wasn't until the layer reached 2830 degrees Celsius that Lillian felt the heat, and then she began to use her special domineering power. That's right, Lillian also has her own unique sense of domineering power. Originally, her domineering talent was the same as Lilith's, which was also mediocre. But after eating the Xiao Xiao fruit, she followed Noah's tips and combined the fruit's ability with the Haki of Wisdom and Color, and developed a type of Haki of Wisdom and Color that is unique to Lillian. Heat-sensing wisdom and color. She can see the temperature of all substances, and the changes in surrounding temperature will also be captured by her sight. At this time, she is using this kind of knowledge to carefully sense the heat energy deep in the magma and the source of this heat energy. Soon Lillian noticed that there were some special substances in the surrounding magma. These substances continuously released heat and continued to heat the surrounding magma and water vapor. Is this the radioactive substance that Brother Noah was talking about? The energy generated by the decay of elements can actually release such a huge amount of energy. Lillian tried to simulate the process of elemental decay to further transform her fruit abilities. It's a pity that even though she spent most of her energy, she still couldn't simulate any sign of elemental decay. Lillian, who didn't get what she wanted, could only quickly return to the ground. Lillian rushed out of the crater again and saw her sister who had been waiting for a long time. "Lillian, are you okay?" Lillian shook her head. "It's okay. I am in the elemental state, and radioactive substances cannot harm me. It's just that this time I didn't successfully simulate elemental decay. Don't mess around. Brother Noah has reminded you that your physical fitness is not strong enough to support the elemental decay mode. Lillian has a deep understanding of this. Her simulation in the depths of magma just now seemed to have encountered a high wall. Of course, regarding this situation, Noah had actually warned Lillian not to have too high hopes. The reason why there was no objection to Lillian entering the depths of the magma was mainly because he wanted her to be exposed to the conditions of the magma in advance and the radioactive substances hidden in the nature of the magma. Obviously Sakaski has not developed the rock berries to a fully awakened state. If he reaches a fully awakened state, he can use radioactive attacks, and the upper temperature limit will exceed 3000 degrees Celsius. The upper limit of burning fruit is actually the sun mode. This is the development route planned by Noah for Lillian. Stage 1, the limit of compound combustion, 4990 degrees Celsius. The second stage, elemental decay, a period of awakening. The third stage, elemental fission, second stage awakening. The fourth stage, elemental fusion, full awakening. If Lillian can achieve full awakening, she will become a brand new sun. However, this idea is still a little too far away for Lillian at present. Now she has not even reached the combustion temperature limit of the compound, let alone entered the element decay mode. Lillian did not give up immediately, but continued to stay in the crater for more than half a month. During this period, she would dive deep into the magma every day and carefully sense the decay process of elements in the magma. Although she did not successfully simulate the elemental decay mode, she still gained a lot of insights and gains. For example, she initially conceived the Flame God mode, which is a special mode created by using simulated solid fuel as the skeleton and simulated liquid fuel as the muscles. After entering the Flame God mode, Lillian can transform into a huge Flame God giant or form a Flame God exoskeleton. In this mode, Lillian can even swim and walk directly in the sea. Another example, she conceived the method of Steaming Dragon series by observing water vapor deep in the ground. Compared with direct fire attacks, the Steaming Dragon series uses high pressure and high temperature water vapor to kill enemies. Lillian found it difficult to continue to understand the magma, so she decided to return to the Rum Kingdom. Just when Lillian and Lilith returned to the Rum Kingdom, Vic, and Anthony finally arrived at the Wiko Kingdom. Chapter 32 The Kingdom of Oiket. January 23, 1504 in the Haiyuan calendar. East China Sea, Southern Sea Area. Kingdom of Wiko. The damage caused to this country during the pirate attack 2 years ago is still affecting this land. In the northeastern part of the island country, at the trading port called Port March, merchant ships flying the flag of the Rum Trading Company were slowly moored in the port's berthing area. The security officer at the port led a dozen soldiers to guard the armed merchant ships. However, after Anthony presented the official documents of the Kingdom of Rum, the sheriff relaxed a little, but still asked to board the ship for inspection. Anthony didn't have any objections. After all, the purpose of their visit to the Kingdom of Oiket this time was to find devil fruit, and trade was just an excuse. Soon Anthony took care of the port affairs. That night, in a room on the third floor of a hotel in the port, Anthony, and Vic each talked about today's harvest. According to Brothers' divination, the sonic fruit is within the Kingdom of Oiket, but the area is still too large. Anthony frowned and looked at the map on the table. This map is the official map of the Kingdom of Wiko. The entire Kingdom of Wiko is not just one island, but consists of one main island, Wiko Island, and 8 small inhabited islands, plus 42 uninhabited islands. A large archipelago composed of human islands. The area of Wiko Island alone reaches more than 3,000 square kilometers, which brings great difficulty to everyone's search work. Ali thought for a moment and then made a suggestion. According to the divination of the eldest brother, this fruit should not have been eaten by anyone, which means that it is very likely that this fruit has not been discovered by anyone, so our target should give priority to those that no one has deserted island. However, Anthony shook his head. No, we should search for inhabited islands first. If the sonic fruit is on an inhabited island, the risk of being found or eaten will be very high. We must eliminate high-risk areas first. Ali reacted immediately, this is indeed possible. I agree to search for inhabited islands first. But there are more than 30 towns in the Wiko Kingdom. It will take a lot of time to check them one by one, right? Vic looked at the map, and one head and two were suddenly bigger. Anthony is confident, we can use our identity. In addition, there are many refugees in the Kingdom of Wiko, which has experienced pirate attacks. We can also use them to inquire about some local news. Early the next morning, Anthony hired dozens of local people in the name of underground businessmen, and then asked them to spread a message in the towns around the port. Soon word spread around Port March. Among the slums on the south side of the port, a young man with a big back and a pair of old glasses was shopping. As soon as he picked up a potato, he heard someone at the fruit stall next door talking to the boss about something. "Luke, did you hear about that?" The fruit stall owner who was wiping oranges looked puzzled. "What's going on?" "You do not know?" "Old Jim, what do you know? Tell me." "There are foreign businessmen in the port area who are buying all kinds of exotic flowers and plants, whether they are seedlings, seeds or fruits." "Real?" "Of course, you can find out by going to the port area and asking around." "Exotic flowers and plants? How much is the purchase price?" "It seems like the starting point is 100,000 Baileys." The fruit stall owner's eyes lit up and he immediately continued to ask, "There is a strange melon vine in my house. I don't know if the other party will keep it." "Oh? Do you want to sell?" "I do have an acquaintance who knows that businessman, but if the transaction is successful, I will ask for 1/10 of the introduction fee." The man rubbed his hands with a smile. The fruit stall owner was a little confused. But the man with glasses at the vegetable stall next door couldn't help but push up his glasses with the inside of his wrist, and there was a flash of thought in his eyes. After 3 days of fermentation, there were many people who had the idea to take action, and these people were led by underground intermediaries to secretly go to various trading points, or Ali and Vic came directly to inspect the goods in person. Although he did not acquire the devil fruit, Anthony did not let the two of them refuse anything. Instead, he selectively bought some rare flowers and plants. The gangster who was talking to the fruit stall owner before was contacting other people again. However, the gangster didn't know that he was being followed and was still working hard. Ali, who was looking at the goods, suddenly frowned. Vic also felt something strange. The two of them quietly exchanged a few words in secret, and then continued the inspection in front of them. Although Anthony had no hope of finding the sonic fruit in Port March, when luck came, no one could stop him. On the 6th day after the secret acquisition operation began, Ali and Vic bought a devil fruit from the owner of a rural grocery store, but it was not the sonic fruit they were looking for, but an animal devil fruit. Ari casually teleported the fruit back to the secret base of Rum Kingdom. After Noah received the fruit, he identified it as a rattlesnake form of the snake fruit. Over the next 3 months, the three Anthonys kept traveling around the Wiko Kingdom until April 19th, when they successfully purchased the sonic fruit they had been longing for from a farmer on Beifong Island, a subsidiary of the Wiko Kingdom. As soon as he got the sonic fruit, Anthony ate the fruit immediately, because this fruit was arranged for him by Noah. After the sonic fruit was found, Anthony and his team immediately prepared to leave the Kingdom of Oikut and head to the waters north of the Organ Islands to look for the pulpy fruit. Just as the merchant ship was preparing to leave the port, the man hiding in the dark finally couldn't help the greed in his heart, and quickly sneaked into the captain's cabin of the merchant ship under the cover of night. Looking at Anthony who was sleeping soundly, a sharp long-clawed weapon emerged from the man's hand and slashed towards Anthony's throat. However, the next moment, the man's eyes widened. The espada that he was so proud of was actually blocked by the neck, and even caused a series of sparks from the friction. What kind of monster is this guy? It's not good. You must escape. The next second, before he could make a move, he felt dizzy and an indescribable nausea surged in his abdomen. Anthony turned on the light and looked quietly at the man with glasses lying on the ground twitching. It's courageous, but it's just a little overestimating one's capabilities. Vic pushed the door open, glanced at the bespectacled man on the ground, and shook his head in disappointment. I thought he was some kind of master, but I didn't expect it was a little kitten. How are you going to deal with this guy? Let Mary check it out. If there is no transformation value, let him return to nature. Anthony decided the other party's fate without caring. Chapter 33 3 Years of Accumulation. Ali directly threw the attacker back to the secret base of the Rum Kingdom, and the three of them headed non-stop to the Dominican Islands on the north side of the Organ Islands. However, from the Kingdom of Wiko to the Dominican Islands, it spans almost the entire north and south of the East China Sea. The entire straight-line distance exceeds 2,400 kilometers. This will be a long journey. And at the same time, on the Rum Kingdom side, Joseph, who went to marry Joa for a meeting at the end of last year, also returned to the Rum Kingdom more than half a month ago. As soon as Joseph returned to the Kingdom of Rum, domestic reforms became more intense. Uncle Joseph, who had reservations about some of Noah's ideas before, became even more radical than Noah this time. The reason for his change was due to this trip to marry Joa. What Joseph saw and heard in Mary Joa made him understand the reality. This is a dark and bloody world, and the celestial dragons are definitely the embodiment of evil in this world. Even though Noah kept mentioning the heinous crimes of the celestial dragons before, Joseph still didn't have much intuitive feeling. This trip to marry Joa suddenly shocked his heart greatly. After returning, Uncle Joseph not only requested to speed up the transformation of Rum Kingdom, but also strengthened physical exercise. Noah did not object to Uncle Joseph's idea. If it were before, Uncle Joseph's physical potential was indeed not great. Even if he ate the silverback gorilla fruit, it was still impossible to reach the potential of Lieutenant General Marine. But it is different now. With the existence of Barton, the card apostle, he can continuously replenish his vitality. Even Uncle Joseph's life-threatening practice will not cause serious side effects and hidden injuries. Over time. Almost 3 years have passed since Noah was reborn in this world. The members of the family have not only grown 3 years older, but their strength has also undergone earth-shaking changes. In the training ground of the secret base, 16-year-old Noah is 2.76 meters tall, with streamlined muscles all over his body, long black hair, and a simple ponytail. The card fruit was developed by him to be very powerful, and his 3-color domineering power was further improved. He also practiced a series of 6-type extended skills, including life return, and his strength was probably at the level of a quasi-general. The 33-year-old Uncle Joseph's height has not increased much, only reaching 2.1 meters. He has explosive muscles and a black-haired hedgehog. His ability is that of an animal-type silverback gorilla. He has 6 postures and life return. He is covered in armed colors and his general knowledge and abilities are probably at the brigadier level of Marine headquarters. The 13-year-old cousin Joshua is taller than his predecessor, reaching 2.55 meters. He has streamlined muscles and a black-haired hedgehog head. He has no fruit ability yet, Grandmaster 6th form and armed color, and has a super wide area type of seeing color. The strength is probably at the level of Colonel in Marine headquarters. Lilith, 14 years old, is 2.13 meters tall. She is an animal-type monarch butterfly-capable person. She is a top-level observer and a junior armed person. She knows some of the 6 moves, is a top-level navigator and family steward, and her strength is about the level of a colonel in the Marine headquarters. 11-year-old Lillian, 1.82 meters tall, possesses the Logia burning fruit ability, is a top-level intellectual and junior armed person, is the family chef, and her strength is about the level of brigadier general at Marine headquarters. Green Marie, 12 years old, is 1.93 meters tall. She has the Paramecia fruit ability. She is an emotional observer and a junior armed person. She knows some 6 forms and dagger skills. She is a family intelligence officer and examiner. Her strength is about the level of a colonel in the Marine headquarters. 15-year-old Anthony, 2.22 meters tall, possesses the ability of Paramecia sonic fruit, is an intermediate armed person and an intermediate observer, knows all 6 styles and sword skills, is a family combatant and chief of staff, and is roughly at the level of a colonel at Marine headquarters. 14-year-old Tom Ani, 1.91 meters tall, currently has no fruit abilities, is a junior armed soldier and a junior witness, knows some sick styles and gun skills, is a family fighter and painter, and his strength is about the level of a Marine headquarters major. 13-year-old Vic, 2.91 meters tall, has no fruit ability yet, has advanced armed color and elementary knowledge color, Grandmaster 6th form, and developed extended skills. He is a family fighter, and his strength is probably at the level of a colonel in the Marine headquarters. 13-year-old Alii, 2.11 meters tall, possesses the Paramecia fruit ability, is an intermediate-level observer and primary-level armed person, knows marksmanship and some 6 forms, is a family sniper and strategic supporter, and is roughly at the level of a colonel at Marine headquarters. 10-year-old Ajay, 1.8 meters tall, possesses Paramecia graphite fruit ability, is a junior witness and a junior armed warrior, knows some of the 6 moves, is a family boatman and engineer, and is roughly at the level of a colonel at the Marine headquarters. This is the current situation of the 11 core members of the Noah family. As for whether this strength is a bit exaggerated. Not really. Because the deserter Wang Kaibi under Garp rose from a weak pirate handyman to an elite lieutenant general in just 2 years. Even if the opponent is very talented, you can get guidance and training resources under Garp. But many members of the Noah family also have certain potential, especially after eating the devil fruit, and they have a lot of life force to squander. If they are not yet adults, their strength will not stop here. As for the accumulation of wealth and power, the Noah family has completed primitive accumulation and has now entered a period of rapid development. The new members secretly recruited in Rum Kingdom are still in the preliminary training stage. These new members are mainly orphans aged 6 to 12 years old, and there are more than 200 people in total. Although there are still some adult members within the Rum Kingdom, the number of which is approximately more than 2,000, but they are all peripheral members and do not even know the true situation of the family. With the more than 200 billion belly left by Barton in hand, plus the Rum Kingdom and Rum Trading Company with a steady stream of tax revenue, the family does not need to worry too much about funding issues for at least the next 10 years. Of course, although the Rum Kingdom is currently the family's largest industry, Noah has no idea of using this place as his base camp. On the one hand, because the Rum Kingdom is a member of the world government, many things cannot be too blatant and can only undergo limited transformation. On the other hand, the potential of Rum Kingdom is limited. After all, the land area here is limited, and there will be a big crisis of rising sea levels in the future. Therefore, Noah must find a more secluded and safe place as soon as possible as the family's base camp and retreat. He planned to rest in the Kingdom of Rum until June of 1504, that is, June of this year, and then he planned to take some members to the paradise of the Grand Line. With the strength of him and the other members, it is more than enough to enter the Grand Line. As long as they don't encounter multiple Admiral-level enemies, they won't be in any fatal danger on the Grand Route. On the sea, the force that can mobilize the combat power of more than 2 generals at once, besides the world government, is the Sea Emperor of the New World. At this stage, there is only one Emperor of the Sea, and that is Whitebeard. Kaido's Beast Pirates, Charlotte Leanlean's Big Mom Pirates, and the red-haired pirates who came from behind failed to reach the top, and New World is still in dire straits. Entering the Grand Line now is actually safer than Wang Luffy's time. As long as you don't enter the New World in a hurry, at least you don't have to worry about suddenly encountering the 4 Emperor's subordinate forces in the paradise. Chapter 34. Want to cry but no tears. Noah just came back from training. Lilith took a document and came to his study. Brother Noah, this is Mary's interrogation report. After taking a sip of milk tea, Noah opened the document with a hint of surprise on his face. It's him. Noah didn't pay too much attention to the man with glasses thrown back by Alii before. Lilith and Mary were doing the receiving and reviewing work. The person on this report was none other than the Black Cat Crow, who later made a big splash in the East China Sea and retreated bravely. He was only 15 years old at this time. He was born in the port of March in the Kingdom of Uicot. His father was a small businessman. Both his parents died in a pirate attack 2 years ago. This led to the decline of the Crow family and had to move to slums. After Noah read the report, he found that although Crow had some gangster behavior at this time, he had not yet developed the ruthlessness of the pirate period, so he decided to give the other party a chance. It's not a big problem. We can arrange some transformation for him. What level? A-level potential. First arrange the treatment and training of B-level, temporarily observe its changes, and don't let it come into contact with the family's core secrets. If he doesn't change, then get rid of him. Although Noah fell in love with the other party's potential, but it does not mean that he will tolerate the other party going his own way. If the other party cannot reform, then he will deal with the other party without hesitation. Lilith nodded, I understand. Noah thought of another thing. By the way, Lilith, how is our secret recruitment of scientists going? It's not going well. There are indeed a few famous scientists in the East China Sea, but these people are all well-known figures in various kingdoms. We have only recruited a dozen second-rate researchers so far. Noah was not surprised by this. Those well-known scientists were either supported by the state or were arrogant. The Noah family who acted secretly did not have much appeal. It doesn't matter. A second-rate researcher will be a second-rate researcher. The worst he can do is serve as a teacher of basic science and train his own scientists for the family. Actually, we can secretly kidnap. Noah waved his hand, okay, Lilith, although we are in the dark, one day we will stand under the sun, and some bottom lines can still be maintained. Okay. Lilith didn't feel that Noah was pedantic, because some things really needed to have a bottom line, and this was the man worth following her throughout her life. In fact, Noah is unwilling to do this because the essence of conqueror's power is the embodiment of one's courage. The Noah family is now in a stage of secret development, but it does not mean that there is no bottom line. For example, Moria and Crocodile, who have the potential of conquerors, have been operating in the dark for too long, and their styles have become bottomless and deviated from their original intentions. Not only has conquerors not awakened, but also the weapon color and knowledge color have continued to change. Degradation. If a person deviates from his original intention, his will be shaken, and his domineering energy will stagnate, or even degenerate and disappear. Noah has never considered himself a person from the dark world. His goal has always been to overthrow the world government and change this sad and desperate world. In the Rapids Bay on the north side of the town of Mackerel in Rum Kingdom. This is one of the secret training camps set up by the Noah family. Crow, who had just been released from the cell in the secret base, was sent here after changing into a new set of clothes. The person in charge of the Riptide Bay training camp is Noah's apostle, Cat Claw Brian. This training camp is also an exclusive camp specially used to inspect some of the undecided personnel. After Brian read Crow's file, he did not want to target the other person's thoughts, but planned to secretly observe this person. After all, Noah's instructions included this person's evaluation. For such smart people, there is no need to use other methods, just observe secretly. After all, Crow doesn't know the existence of hockey. If the other party has any dangerous ideas, they will definitely not escape Brian's eyes. In the dormitory of the camp, Crow, who originally thought the situation was in danger, realized after listening to the explanations of several roommates that this was a secret training camp, a place dedicated to cultivating talents. Crow raised his glasses with the inside of his wrist, and thoughts flashed through his mind, but in the end he decided to stay put. After all, the psychological shadow that Anthony brought to him was too serious. That kind of crushing powerlessness and the weird devil fruit ability made Crow feel powerless. It was a blessing to be able to save his life now. The next day, it was dawn. A rapid whistle sounded in the dormitory. Get up and gather. Quickly. Crow looked confused, but still hurriedly got dressed and followed several roommates to the playground. At this time, more than 50 people had gathered on the playground. Brian looked at everyone's performance with a smile. Run 20 laps around the playground to warm up, let's get started. Everyone had already gotten used to it and started running. Crow could only go with the flow and run with the crowd. However, while he was running, he looked at the entire playground. Soon Crow's face became a little uneasy, because the playground was quite big, about 2 kilometers in one lap. In other words, running 20 laps is equivalent to running 40 kilometers. Coupled with the warm-up that Brian just mentioned, it made Chloe break out in a cold sweat. At the end of the day, Crow was completely exhausted, but several of his roommates were very lively. One of the roommates was feasting, and then reminded, "CLO, eat more meat, and go to the pharmacy later to get some ointment to apply on it, otherwise you won't be able to get up tomorrow." "Thank you." The weak crow endured the pain in his body and bit off a large piece of meat. As the sea animal meat was swallowed, he only felt warm in his body. These eaten sea animals are small Poseidon species, which have great benefits for the body. After a hearty meal, Crow, led by his roommate, went to the pharmacy in the camp and took some ointment that could relieve muscle fatigue and injuries. This ointment uses a sea deer beast that has been injected with vitality by Barton as the raw material. It contains a lot of vitality. Although it is not as effective as the direct injection of vitality by Barton, the advantage is that it does not require Barton to inject it every 3 days, and Barton will not be exposed. Ability. After applying the ointment, Crow felt that his body was recovering a little bit, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. But it was not time for them to rest at night. Because students also need to take cultural classes and science classes. Crow, who was taking a cultural class for the first time, looked at the Book of Dragon Slayers in his hand, and his heart was filled with turmoil, and cold sweat broke out on his back. The roommate on the side saw Crow's panic. He comforted him with a smile. "Don't worry, if you don't take the initiative to tell me, who knows what you have learned, not to mention that many of the things in this book are the reality of this world." Crow was about to cry but had no tears. He felt like he was on a pirate ship and it would be difficult to escape. After all, once someone finds out that he has studied this kind of books here, the world government will never let him go. But being weak and helpless, what can he do at this time? He can only choose to passively accept the reality, and warn himself that he must not casually say what he has learned here in the future. Chapter 35: A Strange Combination of Circumstances. The Organ Islands, thousands of miles away. After replenishing supplies at a nearby port, an armed merchant ship quickly set sail and sailed toward the Dominican Islands in the north. A news bird was soaring in the midair not far away. Suddenly it saw the ship. It flapped its wings slightly and approached here. Anthony handed over the 50 Pele casually, and the news bird took out a newspaper from the bag, and then took off again. "Is there any news worth paying attention to?" R asked, leaning on the mast. Anthony was flipping through Kaido. Kaido defeated the Kingdom of Prussia and plundered the country's military equipment. It seems that the arms market in New World is about to undergo big changes. Hasn't this guy become the Emperor of the Sea yet? It's coming soon. It will probably only take 1 or 2 years. Suddenly Anthony's eyes froze and he looked at a piece of news in the corner of the newspaper. Marine Lieutenant General Sakaski kills the Wild Beast Pirates. Sakaski, that is to say, the steel fruit ability user of the Wild Beast Pirates, is most likely dead. Anthony kept this in mind. 3 days later. Anthony, who planned to rest ashore on a nearby desert island, looked at the empty sea in front of him and quickly took out a permanent pointer from the cab. In fact, not only the islands in the Grand Line have permanent pointers, but the islands in the 4 seas can also have permanent pointers. However, the overall magnetic field in the 4 seas is biased toward stability, so an ordinary compass can also be used for accurate navigation. Therefore, fewer people use permanent pointers or record pointers. But the Noah family has quite a few permanent pointers, which are mainly found from sunken ships on the seabed. Because hundreds of years ago, the development of the world was not as complete as it is now. At that time, permanent pointers and compasses coexisted. The permanent pointer on Anthony's hand is a pointer called Barak Island. At this time, the pointer actually deviated from its original direction and pointed to the northeast. Anthony was lost in thought. What's going on? Why did the direction of Barak Island change? Anthony, what happened? Ali jumped down from the observation deck on the mast. The position of Barak Island is different from the position recorded on the chart. It is now pointing northeast. How could this happen? Ali was also confused. What should we do now? Should we go directly to the Dominican Islands, or should we go to Barak Island? Anthony thought for a while and then made a decision: change the route. Let's go to Barak Island first. Okay. Soon the armed merchant ship adjusted its direction and sailed northeast. Before I knew it, I was drifting on the sea for another 3 days. During this period they sailed nearly 600 kilometers. The armed merchant ship finally anchored at this time. But Anthony on the deck looked solemnly at the permanent pointer on his hand, which was pointing at the white clouds in the sky. He took out his telescope and observed for a while, and finally found some vague outlines among the white clouds, which confirmed his suspicion. Barak Island was moved by the Golden Lion. The Beast Legion incident 2 years ago caused the Golden Lion to be targeted by Marine. In order to avoid the same thing happening again, the Golden Lion abandoned the dozen islands it had moved before and instead chose some unknown unmanned islands in the East China Sea. The deserted island was transformed into a brand new floating base. However, Golden Lion did not expect that the Barak Island he moved casually had a permanent pointer. In fact, this Barak Island was a very famous medical country in the East China Sea 438 years ago, so there were a lot of permanent pointers flowing out. According to the official historical records of the world government, a rare plague broke out on Barak Island 438 years ago and soon disappeared in the tide of history. However, after reading the world history annotated by Noah, Anthony knew that the celestial dragons would conduct so-called human hunting against countries that did not join the world government every 3 years. This Barak Island was most likely destroyed by the celestial dragons. Naturally, the Golden Lion didn't know the history of Barak Island. He thought it was a desert island with some historical relics, so he moved it away. Because Anthony was on the way, he planned to land on Barak Island to investigate and see if there was no medical technology left over from the kingdom of Barak. Instead, he found the location of the Golden Lion. At this time, Anthony quickly calmed down. He took out a phone bug and dialed Noah's number directly. "Brother, something happened to the cargo and I need you to come over in person. I asked Ali to pick you up." "Is that so?" "No problem, I'll be there soon." This is a secret code established in advance within the Noah family, mainly to prevent phone bugs from being eavesdropped. After a while, R opened the wormhole, and Noah crossed over from the wormhole in Rum Kingdom. As soon as Noah arrived, Anthony revealed everything he had discovered. "The Golden Lion is up there?" Noah was a little surprised by this news. He originally thought that after the Golden Lion suffered a loss, its specific location would definitely become difficult to find. "I never expected that I would meet Noah in such a way." Soon Noah pulled out the tarot cards. The divination results appear on the cards. 100% winning rate, 62% being escaped by the opponent, 21% killing the opponent, and 7% capturing the opponent. Noah did not feel troubled by the divination results, because the divination results were only a reference and the future was not static. Soon he thought of a method that could increase the success rate of capture to nearly 100%. The merchant ship stayed here for more than an hour and soon set sail again, with Anthony and Vic continuing their previous mission. At the same time, on a nearby desert island, R and Noah walked out of the wormhole. Then Ari brought Lilith over from the kingdom of Rum. Soon a small sailboat appeared on the shore. Lilith has changed her appearance, changed into a set of old clothes, and dressed like a female pirate, sailing alone in the nearby waters. In 2 days. When the Golden Lion led people into the sea to rob, Lilith appeared nearby in a small sailboat at the right time, and then Lilith began to operate the small sailboat to escape. Seeing the Golden Lion on the small sailboat, he naturally would not let Lilith go. He quickly approached Lilith's small sailboat. But Lilith, who has a strong sense of the environment, still used the sea currents and weather to stimulate the Golden Lion a little. After overturning Lilith's boat, the Golden Lion looked at the violent storm around him, with a hint of memory and anger on his face, and at the same time he looked at the little girl in front of him with some surprise. He pinched Lilith's neck. "Did you know there would be a storm here?" "Ahem, you monster." Lilith pretended to be unable to resist. "Ha ha ha, very good. If you are willing to be my navigator, then I can give you everything you want." "Ha. Even if you are a Golden Lion, you can't help me." Lilith looked down on the other party. The Golden Lion suddenly became angry. "Are you sure? If you can hand over the head of a celestial dragon to me, I will agree to be your navigator, otherwise I will ask you to let me go." Lilith's eyes were full of hatred and anger. Hearing that the celestial dragons were going to be killed, Golden Lion became much less suspicious of Lilith. After all, people from CP did not dare to speak ill of the celestial dragons. Chapter 36 Success. Although Golden Lion did not agree to help Lilith kill the Tianlong people, he still cheated Lilith to the floating island on the condition of teaching domineering and sword skills. Noah, who was hiding more than 10 kilometers away, sensed Lilith tearing the cards on her body and knew that she had successfully infiltrated the Golden Lion pirates. Lilith did not carry a phone bug with her. Her only insurance was the space coordinate gem around her neck and a deck of playing cards made by Noah. On the floating island, Lilith showed off her sailing talent to the Golden Lion while disguising herself as an ordinary person and asking for advice on domineering and sword skills from the Golden Lion. After more than half a month of operation, Lilith's status in the Golden Lion pirates has skyrocketed, almost surpassing that of the second-in-command scientist Indigo. At the same time, Lilith also discovered the weakness of the Golden Lion, that is, the boat on its head, which not only limited its domineering power, but also caused symptoms of confusion from time to time. Inside a specialized training ground on the floating island, the Golden Lion was explaining the advanced application skills of armed color domineering. After explaining it for a few minutes, his eyes suddenly changed and he began to crow like a rooster. Kakik. Opportunity. Lilith burst out with speed instantly, and then a colorless and odorless poisonous gas was released from her body. Soon, the toxins began to enter the lungs with the Golden Lion's breathing. After only a minute, the Golden Lion fell into a coma. The compound toxin not only had a rapid anesthetic effect, but also made people fall into fantasy, and had a very good sleep aid effect. Lilith tore apart a playing card again. In an instant, the spatial coordinates in the gem of her necklace were activated, and a wormhole appeared on the field. Because this training ground is very hidden, and Lilith is fully monitoring it, the other members of the Golden Lion pirate group do not know that the Golden Lion has fallen into a deep sleep. Noah and Ari jump out of the wormhole. "Brother, the mission is accomplished," Lilith said with an expression on her face as if you were about to praise me. Noah touched her hair. "Thank you for your hard work. Let's deal with the other members of the Golden Lion pirate group first. Then Golden Lion will trouble you, Lilith." "Okay." Lilith continued to inject venom into the Golden Lion's body, ensuring that the Golden Lion remained asleep. Of course, she didn't dare to soak the Golden Lion in sea water now, otherwise the buoyancy of these floating islands would disappear and they would fall in midair. Noah, R, as well as Mary, Ajay, and Anthony quickly moved towards the Golden Lion pirate station. During this period, Noah's intelligence was fully activated, locking everyone on the dozen or so floating islands. In addition to the original feathered people on Wilmeo Island, there are more than 2,000 pirate subordinates of the Golden Lion. Those feathered people live concentratedly on another floating island. Most of the Golden Lion subordinates are on Lion Island, the main island of the floating islands. There are also several floating islands used to cultivate evolved beasts, and hundreds of pirates are stationed there. According to Lilith's information, scientist Indigo and orangutan Scarito are on the island. The Fishman Swordsman is on Beast Island number 1. Noah asked the brothers Alii and Ajay to annihilate the Fishman Swordsman. He personally took charge of clearing the entire island. Soon Noah's intelligence saw Indigo. He knew that this guy could use chemical reactions to create venom, so he had no intention of getting close to him. Before Indigo could react, Noah instantly appeared behind him. The reason was that Indigo had lost his vigilance due to being on the Golden Lion's floating island for a long time. By the time he heard the danger behind him, it was already too late. Noah knocked the opponent unconscious with a knife and sealed him casually. Immediately afterwards, Noah's Conqueror's dominance suddenly broke out. The terrifying Conqueror's haki instantly caused a large number of pirates to fall unconscious, but those who were still conscious did not notice anything unusual at this time. Because when the Golden Lion is sick, Conqueror's domineering energy will occasionally break out. However, when Anthony's infrasound waves and Mary's blade hit the pirates who were still awake, these people woke up as if from a dream. Enemy? Idiot. Fight back quickly. A****, you are dead. Boss Shiki will never let you go. Ah! The invisible ultrasonic blade cut down the pirates one by one as if cutting wheat. Mary slid rapidly in the air. Her speed was too fast to be recognized by the naked eye, and with the extremely smooth dagger, the pirates she cut usually ended up being cut in two. Hole, the orangutan roared angrily. The next second, Noah appeared in front of it, and Conqueror's domineering power was instantly concentrated on the orangutan, which made the simple-minded orangutan seem to have seen something terrible. Before it could make a move, Noah threw out a card covered in an armed color. The card, which was like a flying knife, cut open the knee socket of the orangutan's left foot at an extremely tricky angle. The injured area was hit, making the left foot unable to move. In an instant, Noah's fingers were condensed with armed domineering energy, and he inserted the third rib on the right side of the orangutan between the lightning and flint. Armed color internal destruction. The orangutan's eyes widened, and his whole body seemed to have been smashed by a hammer. Then he couldn't get up again and fell heavily to the ground. Less than 20 minutes. All the pirates on the island were wiped out. On the other side, the Arage brothers also used lightning speed to annihilate several pirates on the Beast Island, as well as the last leader, the Fishman swordsman. Even if he is a Fishman swordsman with extraordinary strength, when he encounters Ajay who controls thousands of graphene threads, and Alii who is lurking in the dark, he will naturally end up being tied up. After cleaning up these pirates, Noah and others finally began to count their harvest. In addition to the golden lion itself and the two supreme sharp knives, the greatest value of this floating island is the IQ grass cultivated in it, as well as the research data on IQ grass. But the top priority now is to deal with the sleeping golden lion as soon as possible. Noah also feels a little troublesome about the situation of the golden lion. The current way to safely deal with the boat on the golden lion's head is to use the results of surgery. Unfortunately, the results of the operation have not yet appeared. If the golden lion is not dealt with as soon as possible, this immovable floating island will sooner or later be discovered by the world government, and it will be very dangerous by then. But now he is directly transforming the golden lion. After Noah passed the tarot card divination, he did not see the possibility of success. This was the reason for his hesitation. You must know that the strategic significance of Pia Piao fruit is too great. Having this fruit in hand means that the Noah family can be invincible. Even the world government cannot encircle and suppress the Noah family. After all, the main reason why the golden lion was captured was that the other party was out of his mind and insisted on going to Marineland to challenge Garp and Sengoku alone, with an attitude of not giving up. There is no way to transform the golden lion. Noah could only choose another relatively conservative method. Chapter 37 Transfer. Since there is currently no 100% guarantee for the apostle transformation of Golden Lion, Noah can only adopt a conservative backup plan. Noah activates the secret base that was previously a backup. West Cassis Island. REI opened the teleportation wormhole and brought some IQ grass and the feathered villagers to Secassis Island. The beasts transformed by Indigo were sealed by Noah with cards, and the floating islands were also sealed by Noah with cards. Some extremely large floating islands were divided into several pieces and sealed separately. At this time, the upper limit of Noah's card space is equivalent to a cube with a side length of 3 kilometers, and its volume is 27 cubic kilometers, which can barely be crammed into some smaller islands. As for the seawater and fresh water brought up by the Golden Lion, Noah let the water fall back into the sea after sealing the Golden Lion. West Cassis Island at this time. More than 2,000 Uran villagers have also accepted the rule of the Noah family. After all, compared to the ruthlessness of the Golden Lion, Noah at least will not force them to do things, as long as they help cultivate IQ grass and select some tribesmen to become Noah as peripheral members of the family. Noah ensured that they could live safely on West Cassis Island. Although West Cassis Island is very barren, this barrenness is not a bad thing, nor can it be transformed. While Lilith and Mary were managing things here, they captured the strange birds on West Cassis Island. The group of strange birds on West Cassis Island is not small. There are more than 1,300 large and small birds in total. The adult strange birds are huge and their attack power is not weak. At least they can kill unprepared ordinary people instantly. Lilith used her ability to prepare a special toxin that would become addictive after being eaten by strange birds. Of course, the intensity of this addiction is not high, and is roughly equivalent to the effect of catnip on cats. In addition, some medicines and antidotes that can make the strange birds itchy are prepared. While secretly poisoning the strange birds, the feathered people give them the antidote, thereby cultivating the intimacy between the strange birds and the feathered people. Lilith formed a 200-person air cavalry force with strange birds and feathers as the core. In the world of pirates, due to the vast sea area, the flexibility and maneuverability of air forces are stronger than ground forces and maritime forces. Although the maximum load capacity of an adult strange bird can only reach more than 600 kilograms, this is not irreversible. For example, IQ grass can make animals huge and violent, thereby achieving a skyrocketing increase in power. To be precise, IQ grass contains an ingredient that allows biological evolution. The Noah family naturally looks down on the Golden Lion's raging beast army, but the direction of enlargement is a research direction worth trying for the strange birds. In the future, the Noah family will definitely recruit biological and pharmaceutical scientists, so that the research on IQ grass will be on the right track. For example, there are many good doctors and drug researchers in the Iron Bucket Kingdom. However, it is still too early for doctors who are plotting the Iron Bucket Kingdom. Because the king of the Iron Bucket Kingdom at this time was still Valbo's father, and Valbo probably ascended the throne around 1510 in the Hainan calendar. Noah analyzed this from Princess Vivi's memories, because Princess Vivi followed Cobra to Marigioa to participate in the World Government meeting in 1512. During this period, Valpo slapped Princess Vivi. The reason why the two clashed was that Cobra publicly accused Valpo of his plan to kill the doctors. Obviously, with Valbo's character, he would definitely launch a doctor-killing plan within 1 or 2 years after he ascended the throne. Therefore, Noah speculated that Valbo should have ascended the throne around 1510 AD. Of course, Noah will definitely not wait until 1510, because the Iron Bucket Kingdom has some valuable devil fruits, such as the Tunton fruit, the fungi fruit, and the Renren fruit in ordinary form. These devil fruits are worthy of his early visit. In addition to forming an air cavalry unit, Lilith also used special toxin pheromones to successfully conquer some of the black ants underground on West Cassis Island. The reason why we want to conquer the hell black ants is not because of the fighting ability of these ants, but because of the ecological niche of the hell black ants on West Cassis Island. Their ecological niche is actually that of growers, not predators. After all, apart from those strange flying birds, there are only poisonous sweet potatoes and bitter banyan trees on West Cassis Island, and few other large animals exist. This makes it impossible for hell black ants, which are as big as a thumb, to hunt animals for food. Therefore, the hell black ants will continue to dig underground caves, and then collect the leaves of the bitter banyan tree and poisonous sweet potato as a medium for cultivating several types of edible fungi. By growing mushrooms, hell black ants can maintain the size of their colony. Lilith's sister, Lillian, had discovered many delicious mushrooms on West Cassis Island before, including cream mushrooms, honey mushrooms, beef mushrooms, and cilantro mushrooms. These mushrooms are very delicious and have very high nutritional value. Lilith planned to let the hell black ants provide mushrooms to the Featherman village, and let the Featherman village provide sea beast meat to the hell black ants. The reason why hell black ants need sea animal meat is because simply eating mushrooms will stunt the growth of hell black ant larvae. In order to obtain the meat of sea beasts, hell black ants will dig out some ponds on the rock walls of the coast, taking advantage of the rising and falling tides, and then put various mushrooms in them to attract sea beasts and sea fish during the high tide. When the tide ebbs, some sea monsters and sea fish will be left in the pond. However, this capture method can only obtain a small amount of sea animal meat, which is another reason why it is difficult for the hell black ant population to expand. Therefore, through this feature, the feathered man and the hell black ant can initially achieve symbiosis. In this way, West Cassis Island can initially achieve self-sufficiency and avoid the food supply on the island being cut off due to emergencies. Of course, in order to prevent uninvited guests from entering Secassis Island, Lilith placed many secret posts on the island according to Noah's arrangement to monitor the movements of the surrounding sea areas. At the same time, with the help of R's cave fruit, the underground cave of West Cassis Island was transformed into a real underground maze, and many traps were arranged inside. Noah also took action and selected some ordinary islands from the Golden Lion's floating islands for cutting, and then filled them on several small beaches on West Cassis Island to ensure that there were no tidal flats for foreign ships to land. With the addition of the air cavalry unit, the defense system of West Cassis Island has been initially completed. But this is not the final version yet. After all, the West Cassis Island at this stage can only be fixed in this sea area. As long as it is a fixed island, it will be difficult to defend once it confronts the world government. Therefore, the future of West Cassis Island must be a floating fortress floating in the sky, so as to ensure that it cannot be easily locked and destroyed by the world government. As the initial transformation of West Cassis Island came to an end, Anthony and Vic in the Dominican Islands finally found the paste fruit growing on the desert island. Chapter 38 Luck and Misfortune. At the same time, in the South Blue Domain of the East China Sea, there is Red Maple Island, about 1,157 kilometers away from the Kingdom of Rum. A newly formed pirate group landed on the island and burned, killed and looted the island. "You guys. Kill me." The burly pirate captain laughed wildly. The skunk kicked over a fruit basket with a look of dismay on his face. "Boss Bear, this village is too poor, there is nothing at all." Looking at the apples rolling on the ground, Big Bear also looked disgusted, but when he saw one of the maverick apples, his eyes suddenly stopped. He didn't care about anything else, pushed the skunk away, and then picked up the apple. Looking at the silver-gray tangerine pattern on the apple, the Big Bear trembled with his hands. Could this thing be the legendary secret treasure of the sea? A devil fruit, right? The skunk climbed up and cautiously reminded, "Brother, isn't this thing poisonous?" However, the Big Bear didn't listen at all, but directly took a bite of the fruit. As the indescribable stench spread in his mouth, a sickly smile appeared on the Big Bear's face. "Ha ha ha. It is indeed a secret treasure of the sea." After eating the fruit, the Big Bear looked at the shivering villagers with cruel eyes, and then he showed a cruel smile. The next moment, Big Bear's body entered a state of steel, and he punched a villager's head open with one fist. "Ha ha ha. I like this power so much." In order to test the fruit's ability, Big Bear slaughtered more than 200 remaining villagers. In the end, leaving behind devastated ruins and corpses on the ground, the poker pirates walked away. The next day, the intelligence organization of the Rum Kingdom Distillery. Through today's Donghai Times, I learned about the news that Red Maple Town was massacred by pirates. Originally, the person in charge of the winery did not pay too much attention to the news. However, with the announcement of the reward for the poker pirates, Big Bear obtained the steel fruit. The news was also announced by Marine. Noah listened to Mary's report. He tapped his fingers lightly on the table. "Has the steel fruit been eaten?" "It doesn't matter. Where are they now?" The winery discovered traces of the poker pirates on Eridu Island. The pirates secretly resupplied at the island's port last night and then left quickly. "Ask Lilith and Ari to go out and find them for me. Except for Big Bear, no other pirates will be left alive." "Yes." Lilith on West Cassis Island soon received the notice. Ari first took Lilith to Eridu Island, and then started searching in all directions with this island as the center. Lilith, who can fly quickly, and who can jump through wormholes, soon found the poker pirates. Although this Big Bear is cruel by nature, there is also a think tank like Skunk among his subordinates. Skunk knows that massacring the town will make them targeted by marine and powerful bounty hunters, so Skunk quickly makes a planned. First, they secretly resupplied on Alido Island, and then quickly left the nearby waters and headed to a hidden desert island that they had prepared before. It's a pity that their sailing speed is too slow. Lilith and soon found him. "Lilith, are there anyone else or newsbirds around?" "No." "Then go down and meet each other for a while." The next moment, Lilith landed lightly on the deck of the Big Bear, followed closely by who quickly jumped through a wormhole and appeared behind Lilith. Both wore masks and white suits. The clown who was in charge of the lookout immediately noticed the sudden appearance of the two people and jumped off the mast. Who are you? The Joker of the poker pirates? The next second, Ali appeared behind the opponent and inserted a finger gun into the clown's spine. Poof! The clown felt that his spine was broken, and then his body became weaker and weaker. He shouted in horror, "Big Bear Boss! Help me!" Boom! A steaming Iron Man smashed onto the deck where Ali was standing. However, Ali had already discovered the opponent with his intelligence and jumped to the mast through the wormhole. Big Bear looked at the clown who was lying on the ground and wailing, with uncontrollable anger on his face, and his body quickly turned red and warm. "No matter who you are, I will kill you today." However, what responded to him was Lilith's poisonous needle. A large number of those pirates fell instantly. "Woman! Go to hell!" Big Bear waved his high-heat iron fist and hit Lilith hard. Lilith's hands were covered with armed colors, and then she drew a paper and bent her limbs to avoid the Big Bear's iron fist, and her hands seemed to become flexible lion majesty. In an instant, Lilith's fist hit Big Bear's lower back and back of the head respectively. The Big Bear only felt his brain shake, and then his body fell forward involuntarily. The next moment, Lilith kicked the Big Bear in the back 3 times in a row, instantly kicking it into the sea. Big Bear, who had just woken up from the concussion, suddenly felt weak all over, and seawater began to pour into his mouth. "Ari, bring the Big Bear back." "Leave it to me." Lilith looked at the remaining pirates coldly. In an instant, the weapon color covered the dagger, cutting off the hand of the skunk who was preparing for a sneak attack, and then a finger gun was inserted into the opponent's forehead. A backflip, his feet curled up into a dense mass of air blades. Secret technique, meat grinder. Within a moment, only broken limbs and bloody Madara were left on the deck. A pirate hiding behind saw this scene and was so frightened that he cried out, "Devil! I want to go home." Then jumped directly into the sea. It's a pity that Lillian didn't let go of his idea. She shot out a poisonous needle at lightning speed and penetrated into the back of the jumping pirate. The violent cardiac glycoside toxin caused the pirate's body to completely lose control. A large amount of seawater poured into his mouth and nose, causing him to suffocate to death. The pirates hiding in the cabin also did not escape. Under Lilith's knowledge, they had no way to hide. As the last pirate was beheaded by Lilith, Ali also used his sense of sight and wormholes to fish the Big Bear out of the sea, and Lilith gave him a shot of paralyzing toxin. The two returned to Rum Kingdom through the wormhole. The Big Bear quickly sank to the bottom of the sea amid explosions and burning. In the secret base of Rum Kingdom, Noah looked at the Big Bear that looked like a dead dog in front of him, without any mercy, and directly asked Ali to open the wormhole and help him cut off the Big Bear's frontal lobe. Then he took out a stack of tarot cards and asked the tarot cards to choose suitable cards. Soon a minor arcana card appeared in Noah's hand. King of Wands. Overlord. Steel represents strength, high temperature represents passion. Soon the fusion ceremony was completed and the card turned into King of Wands, Big Bear. Noah put away this card and added the previously created Squire of Wands, Brian, and Devil, Pan Button. At present, Noah already has 3 card apostles, which is equivalent to possessing the abilities of 3 other devil fruits. Chapter 39 North Blue. August 11, 1504 in the Haiyuan calendar. The place where Noah's family started, Starfish Island. The family still maintains several small industries on Starfish Island, and at this time Noah is taking Ali to jump back to the island through the wormhole. However, Noah and the two did not stay on Starfish Island for too long. Soon they will secretly drive the Nautilus to the Red Earth continent. In fact, the entire Pole Star Islands are right next to the Red Earth continent, and the distance between the two places is less than 700 kilometers at the nearest point. The reason why Noah and the two went to the Red Earth continent was to go to North Blue. In fact, it is relatively easy to go from the East China Sea to the North Blue. The two sea areas are separated by the Red Earth continent. Later, the Vinsmoke family used a large snail boat to directly cross the Red Earth continent and enter the East China Sea. If you want to go to South Blue and West Blue, you have to pass through the Sky Canal at Mount Levis, and you still have to go in reverse, which is very difficult. Of course, the forces that can cross the Red Earth continent are very powerful in themselves, at least they are not ordinary people. After Noah and his wife arrived at the nearby Red Earth continent, they looked at the towering red rock walls and the white ice and snow on the top of the Red Earth continent. They knew that it would be too difficult for ordinary people to climb over this tens of thousands of meters of plateau. Big. But Noah didn't need to cross the Red Continent. The two wandered around the nearby waters for more than a week and finally found several suitable locations. These locations are very dangerous in the sea below the rock wall. Among them, the 3 sea areas, including the Tidal Sea section, the Maelstrom section, and the Ghost Reef Bay section, are the most dangerous. If it weren't for the strength of Noah and Ar, they might not be able to pass through these sea areas safely. After inspection and selection, Noah finally chose the most dangerous and relatively hidden tidal sea. The entire tidal sea presents a trumpet shape. When the tide rises every day, seawater will continuously pour in from the outer sea. As the wave gets closer to the innermost side, the waves will become higher and higher. During astronomical spring tides, they can even exceed hundreds of meters. When the tide recedes every day, the sea level in the tidal sea will drop rapidly, causing many underwater reefs to be exposed, turning this area into a reef area that is difficult for ships to navigate. Noah and Arei directly gave up the idea of driving the Nautilus to enter, and instead relied on their own abilities to reach the innermost part of the tidal sea. Washed by the everlasting waves, the rock walls here are riddled with holes, a bit like the rock walls of West Cassis Island. This is why Noah chose this location. Although the core area where the world government is stationed in the Red Continent is the Mariajoya section, it does not mean that they do not monitor other areas of the Red Continent. If a cave suddenly appeared on the rock wall of the Red Earth continent, it would be easily discovered by the world government's patrol ship. Not only is there no patrol boats patrolling the tidal sea all year round, the rock walls themselves are covered with caves eroded by waves, which provides very good natural cover. The two found a suitable cave and began to build a secret passage. Rayleigh used the ability of the cave fruit to quickly dig a tunnel in the rock wall in front of him. The excavated rock was directly transported by the wormhole to a nearby trench. This is also the basic principle of the cave fruit digging caves. The width of the Red Earth continent is very huge, reaching more than 5,000 kilometers at its widest point and no less than 1,000 kilometers at its narrowest point. The width of this section of the tidal sea to the North Blue on the opposite side is about 3,200 kilometers. In addition, the excavation route is not necessarily a straight line, because Noah does not know what the situation is in the opposite sea at this time. If the opposite sea is calm, the route must be adjusted. Ar's burrowing speed is very fast. With his physical strength, he can dig continuously for about 3 hours. The cross-sectional radius of this tunnel is about 50 meters, and Ali can dig forward about 10 kilometers per hour. In other words, he can dig 30 kilometers of tunnel every day. The width of 3,200 kilometers takes about 107 days. And Noah was not idle either. Although the tunnel has been excavated, it does not mean that it can be put into use immediately, because the air exchange rate inside the ultra-long tunnel is very slow, and there may even be a risk of suffocation. If the cross-sectional radius of the tunnel can be expanded to about 1 kilometer, this problem can be solved. Unfortunately, the radius of this cross-section is too large, which is not only easy to expose, but also easy to cause instability in the surrounding rock formations, leading to large-scale collapse. Therefore, Noah could only choose another compromise plan. That is to build an oxygen bottle storage room at a certain distance on the side of the tunnel to replenish oxygen bottles to family members passing by, and even store some fresh water and food in it. In addition, in order to speed up the passage, Noah also laid 2 stone tracks for the rapid travel of electric trains. These facilities and tunnels are actually used by ordinary members of the family. After all, Noah has cards to store supplies, and Ali can use wormholes to jump. The two of them do not need the supply station inside this tunnel. The reason why we went to great lengths to build this secret tunnel even though Ali was there was just in case, for example, if Ali died suddenly or was temporarily unable to support him, the family could quickly use this tunnel to escape. traveling to and from the East China Sea North Blue. Noah actually prepared several similar backup plans. After all, if you are prepared for any trouble, if you think of a solution when the problem comes, it may cause serious consequences. This is the situation Noah has been trying to avoid. With the initial construction of the Tidal Sea rock wall base, Ali also left a semi-permanent wormhole transmission coordinate point here. Currently, the limit of the wormhole coordinate points that Ali can maintain is 8. Among them, one is deployed at the Rum base in the Rum Kingdom, one is deployed at the Ant Nest base on West Cassis Island, and one is deployed at the bottom of a large trench near the Rum Kingdom, plus one is deployed at the Tidal base. For this one, 4 fixed wormhole coordinate points have been used. The remaining 4 wormhole coordinate points are used by Ali for combat and daily travel. Inside the Tidal base, in addition to the wormhole coordinates arranged by Ali, there are also self-destruction devices secretly arranged by Noah, as well as various defensive facilities. Before I knew it, more than 3 months had passed. After more than 100 days of continuous work, Ali finally dug near the rock wall on the North Blue side. For the remaining 1 kilometer of rock formation, Ali did not dig through it immediately, but chose to dig out a small passage that could only accommodate 1 person. Soon, Ali dug through the rock formation, but he was very careful, only opening a small gap, and carefully observed the situation in the surrounding sea area. This location is on a rock wall about 150 meters above sea level, and the surrounding sea is very calm. This disappoints Ali because such calm sea is not suitable for export. Chapter 40: A Preliminary Exploration. Noah, who followed closely behind, did not find any human activities or ships on the nearby sea surface through his telepathic perception. Only then did Noah take Ali, wearing a black suit and mask, to search on the coast of the Red Continent on the North Blue side. The hard work paid off, and after 2 days of selection, the two finally found a suitable location. This location is less than 80 kilometers away from the previous small exit. In the sea near it, there is a special creature, acid coral. Acid corals are entrenched in this sea area, especially in the shallow sea areas near the Red Earth continent, forming a large forest of acid corals. The damage caused by this creature to ships is very terrible. As long as the bottom of the ship touches acid corals, these acid corals will trigger a defense mechanism and release high concentrations of acid to the surroundings. Noah collected this acid and found that it could corrode not only wood, but also steel. With the density of acid corals in the Coral Sea, as long as a ship comes close, the bottom of the ship will be eroded by the acid. Moreover, due to the high density of acid corals in the Coral Sea, the air here is also filled with thick acid mist, and acid rain will fall from time to time. Human skin is directly exposed to these acid liquids, acid mist, and acid rain, which is almost the same as taking a bath in sulfuric acid. With this natural Jedi, Noah immediately decided to set up the exit on the Coral Sea. Refill the small opening that was dug out previously and eliminate any obvious traces. It took more than half a month to change the route. Finally, the exit was dug into the rock wall near the Coral Sea, but the exit was not opened directly, but was disguised through a series of disguises. It was already January of 1505 in the Haiyuan calendar. Noah and R, who have completed the construction of the North Blue Tunnel in the East China Sea, have been secretly sailing around the North Blue, except for going back to Rum Kingdom to celebrate the new year. The goal of Noah and the two of them is the fruit of the operation that may appear in North Blue. In the original timeline, the Kingdom of Free Fans where Trafalgar Law was located was attacked and destroyed by the kingdom between 1505 and 1506. In 1506, Trafalgar Law joined the Don Quixote family. 13-year-old Luo was taken away from the Don Quixote family by Rosinante in 1509. In the same year, he ate the fruit of the operation on Mignon Island in North Blue. Judging from the results of Noah's tarot card divination, the fruit of the operation is indeed in North Blue at this time. But when it comes to specific locations, tarot card divination seems to be powerless. Apparently, this is because the demonic will of the surgical fruit is too strong, and it instinctively resists Noah's divination. Although there is no way to lock its exact location through divination. But Noah had another way. That is a reverse operation. He does not use tarot cards to divine information about surgical fruits, but to divine whether devil fruits exist on each North Blue Island. This method of finding a needle in a haystack has been Noah's work for more than a month. At present, the two have searched 21 islands, and found a devil fruit on one of the islands. It is the bully dog form of the dog fruit of the ordinary animal type. It is considered a good animal type fruit. As time passed, the two people's journey gradually approached the large island of the Kingdom of Flevens. Due to the exposure of Morgans, the aphrodisiac disease in the Kingdom of Frevans was suddenly made public, which also put the world government into a passive state. But when Noah entered Barkley Island, the island where the Kingdom of Frevans is located, he discovered that the other 4 countries on the island were secretly mobilizing their forces. Obviously the world government can't wait to kill people and silence them. Noah and Ar, who secretly sneaked into the Kingdom of Fredericks, looked at the common people of Frevans walking like zombies on the streets. They felt that the country had completely lost hope. Many people even gave up on themselves and drank too much on the streets. Drunk. Suddenly, a middle-aged man in a white coat hurried towards the distance carrying a first aid box. "Dr. Andy. Have you not given up yet?" Hiccup. "Ha ha ha, give up. We have been abandoned." A drunk man shouted with ridicule and despair. The doctor named Andy shook his head. "Everyone, please don't give up. As long as you are alive, there will be hope. I will definitely find a way to treat the lead disease." Another old man with a lifeless face said feebly, "Give up. Didn't you see that the kings have run away? And the neighboring countries don't allow us to enter at all. Now we are like on an isolated island, without even a chance to escape." No. Despite Andy's earnest persuasion, other residents did not have the slightest confidence. Noah and Alii, who were hiding in the dark, also had no intention of intervening. According to the intelligence collected by Ali from the armies of the 4 countries, the plan of the 4 countries to destroy the Kingdom of Frevans will not be launched for about 2 weeks. Now the coalition forces of the 4 countries are only gradually strengthening the border searches to prevent anyone from escaping. It's still early, so there's no need to be too anxious. I followed Dr. Andy for more than an hour. After seeing several critically ill patients, Dr. Andy returned to the small hospital. There are a large group of children living in this small hospital, including brothers and sisters Trafalgar Rowe and Trafalgar Lammy. After Noah saw Luo calling Andy his father, he knew that Dr. Andy should be Luo's father. After secretly observing the situation in the hospital, Noah found that the health of these children was very poor, and many children's faces were already covered with white Madara, which is a manifestation of the late stage of lead disease. With the current medical level in North Blue, unless the witch who lives in seclusion in the Iron Bucket Kingdom can be called upon, he will have no choice but to wait for death. Of course, Noah's card sealing techniques can also temporarily seal these patients. Once a doctor is available or the results of the operation are obtained, treating the lead disease will not be a big problem. In the dead of night, everything is silent. The drug research room at Trafalgar Hospital was still brightly lit, but Andy and his wife My Lai were frowning at this time. Andy, Luo, and Lamy's condition is getting more serious. Looking at the blood test results, Andy naturally knew that the situation of the 2 children was not optimistic. Even if they could move away from Frevans Kingdom now, they probably wouldn't be able to survive for 3 or 4 years. Bang bang bang. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Andy frowned and his heart suddenly became heavy. He thought there was something wrong with the children's health and hurried to the gate of opening. As soon as the gate of opening opened, 2 strange young men appeared at the door. "Who are you?" Andy asked in surprise. Noah walked into the drug research room with a smile. "Dr. Andy is also desperate about lead disease, right? After all, it is almost impossible to develop an antidote within a few years." Andy subconsciously wanted to refute, but then he showed a trace of bitterness. "I really have no choice. We have been living in the Kingdom of Frevans for a long time, and the amber lead content has penetrated into our blood, internal organs, and bones. I have 2 ways to solve the lead disease." "What? Are you a doctor too?" Andy looked at Noah in surprise. However, Noah shook his head. "I am not a doctor, and my methods are not medical skills. Not medical skills? Andy was a little puzzled, but at this time he no longer cared about medical skills. As long as he could solve the problem of lead disease, he could accept it. But Andy quickly calmed down, because he knew there was no free lunch in this world. You are listening to it in Eugene Light Novels.